There we go. I wish I could paint here. It's so gray. Paint some blue, some purple, some yellow, some red, some yellow, some black and white, you know. Because I pass here often and a lot of people do, and just do some paint, you know, volunteering. I would love to volunteer, just get that volunteering. And we're gonna hydrate before we go for a march. May 15th, special end of the full moon cycle. Full moon every day with yours truly. Gonna salute the workers who build this. What drains the muscle underneath the aqueducts all connected via somewhere where the water filtration goes with the filters and has to have clean water. So an HYDRAT and gonna go overtime every time. Let's go. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and full moon ending and super 3/3 day of the heat wave here in Montreal, kind of. Oh yeah, here we go. So we're gonna exit it and we're gonna get on the hydration and overtime every time. By the sun, got a little bit of sunscreen, and we're gonna go left, right, and juggle it up. We're gonna salute the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. And we're gonna zigzag it. That's what we're gonna do here, you know, for the butchers and bakers and nurses, doctors and firefighters. And you know, here when oh, gotta get it for that. And that's when I'm gonna go, man, with the children there. You know, they gotta be careful because of course they can step in there and the child gonna run, and so I grab, and you know, it goes there and it can hurt itself, and then the train comes. So it's always something which we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, you know. And that's what we're gonna get doing with the rock and rolls. Here we got the train conductors, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the firefighters, and all those involved, you know, in the production, distribution of food. And that's how we're gonna get doing with that, man, you know. We gotta get doing on the rock and roll, and the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. Gotta salute, you know, all the XYZ, and that's how we're gonna get doing for the rock and roll, you know. So for the farmers, the plumbers, the butchers, and the nurses.
The buses?
There we go, left and right, and that's how I'm gonna go. Always grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And yeah, passing through my neighborhood here. It's heat wave. It feels like 31 and it's like 27 on the clock. So I got that backpack in, and we're gonna drill it in, and we're gonna go towards the water. We're about to go to the mountain. They said tomorrow the mountain and the weekend, you know, because that's how we're gonna rock and roll it with. So encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Welcome to another special raw reel, unedited, unfiltered, blah blah edition from this N.A.C.W.P. Got at Asperger's, and my brain's different, so I'm neurodivergent. Certain things, you know, got a more difficulty in with that social awareness, and we repeat things twice, 3 times, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And we gotta drill in on the go, and it's always for the construction workers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. I used to do laundry right there. Used to do laundry right in the laundromat there for a few years. I think it's still probably operational. It was last week, and that's why we gotta go drilling with the operations. And of course now I gotta be saying my gratitude because I did 2 loads today, and of course I did not pay, you know. So I got that blessing from my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. And being on the road and on the go, and always gotta get that gratitude, you know. It's good for mental health and for overall wellness and well-being. I believe gratitude is something which we put in our daily practice. So I gotta say gratitude, although financially stressed, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I spent $3 in the backpack. I got 50 cents. I got 6 different cookies, so 6 times 50. It was like $3.44 with the taxes, and I donated 50 cents to a charity, although financially stressed, paradoxically $10,000. But I said, yeah, you know. I said, can I give $2? They said, no. Can you give $1? I said, no. I said, I can give 50 cents because I'm really tight on the budget, so I'm budgeting that, and that's what I gotta get rolling with that. But hey, you know, when I work out, train, exercise, when I get that fitness, you know, we gotta get it on the go, you know. We gotta get doing on that love things, you know. So I know we gotta get doing for that love and get things going sometimes when it's tough life that I live, at least the past years, because I got that retrograde amnesia, and I have blackouts of memory. So my memory kind of goes blackout when I remember most of the past 7, 8, 9 years, and then 10, 11 kind of goes on the blackout after 11 years. So got plenty of scars on the body, I guess internal, and I remember being attacked by surprise, hit my head, and had a dislocated right arm. When it was cracked back in the hospital, it was kind of like put back, you know. Put back, put on some meds. I was put on some meds, you know, and Jewish General Hospital, and it was kind of like in a coma, you know, for a few days, kind of coma-like state, a few days, and had my own psyllium pyrexis, so I survived, and here I am, you know. Always admiring some beautiful flowers here and there, and always grateful, thankful. Rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. I love to get that rock and roll on these steel toe boots, so I'm auctioning everything that I'm wearing, even the underwear. So locking in with that. From my neighborhood, we're gonna go zigzag it a little bit towards the sun, see how we do a little bit of perhaps different. We might change the mind and just go zigzag it towards the sun. I want to go as much towards the sun as I can, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta be grateful, you know. Gratitude, because today is all I got, and I have hope for tomorrow. But I live it since I survived COVID in February 2020. Between February 2020 and March 2020, I had COVID, you know. I got triple vaccination, three vaccines since then, and since then, of course, I've been living carpe diem every day. And you know, my life is an Aspi, have Asperger's, and I'm going to discuss a little bit what it is. It's a neurological mental divergent condition. There's Aspi brains, like my brain. There's a mutation. There are mutations. It's plural, actually. So there are mutations. Several parts of the brain have undergone a mutation, genetic or environmental factor of the mutation sometimes, depending on the go. I gotta salute the public workers. Thank you, LOVE. Salute some rock and roll for the public workers here. And as I go to cross the street here, I'm gonna be attentive and prudent. I'm gonna cross the other one, actually. So I don't need to cross there. It's better for my safety, their safety, that I delay my crossing the street onto the next one. Although, oh, they took the other way. Yeah, I thought they were gonna turn right, but they turned left. So, well, I guess the assessment was correct, but I assumed prior that they were gonna turn right, but I didn't see the lights, if they were on to the left, on to the right, given the benefit of the doubt. But point is that I'm in the public, so I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which I don't have prior. Oh, but there's another one coming. It's not the same one, paradoxically, because we got that compost, you know, compost being picked up or recycling. And that's how we're gonna get doing for that. Hey, gotta give a little love, you know, little loving to those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, you know, the compost. I got 3 services in my neighborhood, so I got to salute as a philosopher, geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, you know, who lives with Asperger's. Again, what Asperger's is a neurological mental divergent condition. So people with Asperger's, we look at the world differently. We see the world basically through a different lens. And we have our difficulties, especially when it comes to social communication or interaction or other things that we tend to neglect, that due to the fact that when we are mostly involved in what are called our special interests, aka obsessive interests, but it doesn't render any justice for me to utilize the word obsessive, because an obsession is more used for somebody who's a neurotypical, who doesn't have Asperger's, who's part of the 99.56% of the population, while me having Asperger's, being an Asp, I'm less than 1%, less than half of a percent, about 0.44%, so not even 1%. Less than half of a percent I'll have Asperger's or Aspies in the world. So my condition is very rare, and the brain, there's mutations. So these mutations in the brain makes it that we look at the world differently, and we can be very intense, very concentrated, very in it, very intense, very in it, very intense, very concentrated, super in, super intense, super concentrated, for all those factors which we have. And just like somebody said before, you know, because knows what Asperger's is, says, that's a nice tree, and says he knows what Asperger's is, and just before I bought some toothpaste, some toothpaste, and that's all we gotta get doing with that. That's all we're gonna get doing with that, and that's all we're gonna go get doing, and you know, we gotta get on that XYZ, and that's all we're gonna get on that rock and roll, and we're gonna get on that humorous side of things sometimes, getting on that fluid, and you know, sometimes we gotta get on the side of doing things, you know, and being preoccupied, fully immersed, super concentrated, super in, super intense, super concentrated, super in it. When we Aspies are involved in either studying, learning, or doing the things that we have our special interest in. And mine happen to be the Holy Trinity. It's geopolitics 24/7, the geopolitical analysis. I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and of course sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll. So those three 24/7, you know, with intensity, concentration, and super dedication. I guess my psychic energetic forces of the mental capacities are usually revolve around those three activities. Whether I freestyle rock and roll, whether I do geopolitical analysis and theory, because I'm also not just a geopolitical analyst, I'm also a theorist, and my theories from 2019 and my analysis have proven pretty much correct of what's happening now. I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, October, November, in a general parallel manner. I predicted an international conflagration, a splitting of the world order as we know it into different groupings and fractions, and a re-emerging of, these are the main points. There's a lot to it, more in-depth, more academic, more intellectual and philosophical in nature, which, you know, to exclaim myself in such a manner more profoundly would not render justice to this march at hand, because it's a freestyle marching dance rock and roll event for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, special heat wave edition for my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money. If I make $1 million, I'm gonna give 50. So basically that is basically what Asperger's is, the condition of Asperger's. So basically that is the theoretics behind Asperger's, behind me having a special interest of geopolitics, and me, due to this, being a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, an independent one, because I have high school but I don't have university accreditations for a geopolitical. Never did I claim to have any in my videos. I never claimed to have a doctorate. I just said I presented my thesis for the People's Doctor in 2013, which correction 2023, 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, which is called The Privilege of Civilization. And most of my writings and philosophies, which are written mostly in the past 7 years of when I came out of my depression after summer 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast. And crossing Canada coast to coast made me change my mind, and then I had a realization of how many things have been, how many things have been done since then, how many things, because that event, crossing Canada, made me come out of depression. And that, after I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and Quebecers, Canadians, my brothers and sisters in the 50 states also, our brothers and sisters, and see how my brain now works because of Asperger's. Now I see this train, and I know that it's going west. It could go all the way to Ottawa, Ontario, Toronto, all the way to Manitoba. Shout out to Manitoba. Good going with those wildfires. Salute the firefighters who are fighting the wildfires in Manitoba. Sending some love to my fellow Canadians in Manitoba. And here now my brain now puts this train into a geopolitical perplexity, into a geopolitical analysis in terms of geopolitics, right? Lion, I think that somebody wrote lion, L-I-O-N, not lying as in the verb, but in the animal, the beast, L-I-O-N. So I know that this train is going west, right? I know it might be going all the way to British Columbia. It might take a turn and go all the way to Mexico, midpoint Canada, right? Because now for the first time in 2023, there was the fusion of CP, Canadian Pacific, and Kansas City, and that fusion made it so that we have, for the first time, we can go from Montreal, Canada, all the way to Mexico City and even deeper into Mexico. So now my brain just functions by switching to geopolitics. I put this integral into my geopolitical analysis, and of course, because our supply chains, our trains, our public transportation, our highways are open for potential sabotage and espionage from powers of which we had made enemies because we got involved not only in a humanitarian manner, but we got involved in a military manner. So that is where we gotta go to that distinction, you know. So that distinction gotta be made, and I gotta send some love to the construction workers, because I will to build, you know, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, North American People's Imperial Coliseum, North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-West border, and Forgotten Goddess, GODDSS, Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess Temple, because I created my surviving COVID, my depression, my suicidal tendencies, and up to today to the GODDSS Goddess, which I laid the foundations, and to the construction workers I know willingly to finance, you know, with trillions of kisses that I got, and hugs and tickles and whatever needs to be done, you know. I know blah 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 sometimes it's just in the realm of blah blah blah, and then we got to put some of that action. So back to what I was saying, of course, that I interject and I put the analysis of that train going west to my geopolitical analysis, of which we are open for potential sabotage and espionage, because we made enemies, of which of course can be powerful enemies, of which we have made in the past during COVID. And now we have a convergence of different geopolitical events, and that's what we got to get doing with that. And that's back to Asperger's again. There's mutations in the brain of an Aspie. So those mutations kind of account for how we are different. We are different, and how we see the world and how we interact with the world. Sometimes social communications, the way we socially communicate can be awkward and strange, and you know, there's all sorts of things because we are a minority, and unfortunately there's a high percentage of unemployment, very high unemployment. And just like I was discussing with my fellow citizen, I said that's your superpower, because I notice we tend to focus sometimes on weird details, strange, awkward, focused on strange, awkward details, and those details tend to be a little bit on the specific side, on the side that of course they're not going to be the 99.56% of the vast majority of the neurotypicals will not pay attention to. But there's of course those details which we got to be underlying, and fundamentally, as when we discuss Asperger's, we try to be account, and he knows that fellow citizen there knows what Asperger's is, so with him I have a more understanding. But there's a lot of misunderstanding. To a lot of people mistake it, construe it and put it in the same label as a mental illness, which is not a mental illness. There's no symptoms really for Asperger's. There's just characteristics, you know, different characteristics. And yes, we're different, and I'm different as an individual Aspie, but you know, I'm somebody who does not like violence, and I live with my intensity, and I live with loving sports and fitness. I'm on this fitness journey since 2017. You know, I lost, of course, between 80 and 93 pounds, and here I am. You know, just like now, discussing details. I'm looking at those details and see what do they really, if they represent something. The consumption is so small written. That's 3 watts, but consumption for what though? At the range from minus 40 to plus 80. I guess that's more technical stuff. Minus 40 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius. So those are things which are Aspie-esque, you know, if I'm to put it that. Like what WF, like, you know, that's just Asperger's. It's just not a mental illness. It's just, like my fellow citizen said, well, that's your superpower. And I said, I guess in some things it is, but you know, a lot of Aspies, unfortunately, there's a lot of high unemployment, and we struggle with employment, and Although I have many employments, many jobs, some that I really liked, I wanted to keep, but unfortunately they're short-lived, a few weeks, a few months, because again, there's a lot of misunderstanding about, you know, us neurotypicals, you neurotypicals, and us neurodivergent, because I'm neurodivergent, and Aspies are neurodivergent, which are the minority of the population, and of course, the majority of the population are, of course, neurotypicals. So Aspies account for 0.44%, 0.44%, 0.44%, less than 1%, less than half of a percent. So that's basically what Asperger's is. It's a small, tiny fraction of a minority, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And here I am, you know, in the sun shining, and we gotta get a little bit of that beautiful sky here, which you see, it looks like a nuclear explosion, and at least hopefully it's not like an omen, O-M-E-N, like, oof, in parallel to that sound, maybe the omen. 18th of May, nuclear war can start any day, you know. It's possible, that's why we need to build those 44. In my geopolitical analysis of 2019, the nuclear war was an open question, but I predicted that might be a possibility of biological weapons, and interestingly enough, it's just 3 months before I had COVID, and before COVID was born, you know. COVID was born with that, and COVID, we don't know for sure, supposedly was made in a lab by the CIA statement that it was probably made in a laboratory, and of course, I had in my Trinity our beliefs on COVID is first, I don't know what caused COVID, or I believe that it was transmitted from snakes to human beings. Snakes to human beings. But I don't know for sure. Thus, I cannot rule out another possibility. I cannot rule out another possibility. I cannot rule out another possibility. What I do know for sure is that I had COVID, and I thought I was gonna die, and it was like death, pestilence, and disease. And ever since that day of COVID, I take it any day carpe diem. Like it will be my last day, you know? Like it will be my last day. So I have hope for tomorrow. I'm also part of the LGBTQ, and I'm androgynous pansexual. You get that 50-50. You get that 50-50 now, and that's what you get, you know? You gotta get that 50-50, and that's what we gotta get doing with the drill. And we gotta always remember, you know, that things, we gotta breed. I always gotta build bridges. To myself as a neurodivergent, Aspie, and neurotypicals. The 99.56% of the population. So that is something which I always got to do. 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 I always got to build those bridges. I always got to build those bridges. So that's what I got to do, and that's what I got to keep doing, you know. So here I am, financially stressed, grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and you know, got some sweets in the backpack. That's gonna be my treat when I get back Thursday and get back to my headquarters after I said today is gonna be minimum 5 hours. Yesterday I did 4 and 18. That day did 3, and the other day did 7, because I try to average about 20 from Sunday night when the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom schedule begins until Friday sunset, you know. And pledge your legions. I'm laying the foundations for the kingdom, for the 63, the 10 provinces, plus 50 states, plus 3, that's 63. For the North American Collectif, my fusion best. For a PPP, public-private partnership, to create the 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League with the Dragon Army, aka North American SSD Legion, SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, pledge your legions, and gotta salute now the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, those in the daycares who change some diapers, you know. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and think about all the North American Civilizational Collective, those who roll up those 3G, 4G, 5G towers. We got telecommunication companies, IT workers. In a parallel life, I built super satellites, super computers, super microchips, super coding, everything to do with super science, super tech, I'm also an Aspie in that parallel life, where here's geopolitics, sports and fitness, and I gotta take a little bit of admiration for the beautiful sky, you know. Gotta get it for that sun and moon, and you know, I saw somebody holding hands, kissing before, and hugging, so that gives me a little bit of HOPE, because it's not all about the money, please, Wall Street. Millionaires, billionaires, finance, the public workers of the North American Collective, who pick up the garbage, who pick up the recycling, who pick up the garbage, who pick up the recycling, the garbage, and all those like this fellow citizen, you know, who cleans, public workers. The machine was built with brains and muscle, and I wonder, I think it is written on it, Optifant 8000. I gotta check that out. What is that? Optifant 8000. Optifant 8000. I wonder where this machine was built. I know it was built with brains and muscle, and you know, you can deconstruct, construct, and we the Dragon Army pledge your allegiance for the SSD, and my vision, my dream, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is my dream fundamentally for a public-private partnership across the North American Collectif right here from Montreal on this highway. I said I'm going to go towards the sun a bit by the river. I was going to go to the mountain, but I said I went yesterday, and the day yesterday I went to the mountain, my second home on road. The other day before I went by the Montreal, then went by the river, so we kind of tangoed a little bit left and right. So I said now we're going to just do a little bit of city, I guess. We can go left or right, come on the other side, and just go a little bit of traverse here in the one of the more civilization, I guess, close to the streets. I spent many years with one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, you know. And before 2017, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and got plenty of scars, memory loss, retrograde amnesia, and I lost it probably because of the mold. It was moldy where I used to live in an underground basement, and sometimes it's prolonged illness or trauma which causes memory loss, and then sometimes you regain it paradoxically by trauma. But I don't know what I know as I moved there where I am now with really nothing, and I had really nothing, you know. Thank you to my anonymous friend who gave me those red gloves. They're in the backpack with me, and I challenged Donald Trump since 2018 when I challenged Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018, you know. I challenged since Donald Trump made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian and steel. That's when I kind of got into politics, because before that I was just coming out of my depression. I was just coming out of being suicidal. I was just coming out of being depressed. Suicidal, and that's really when I kind of began my entry into politics, as I was more an observer from the sidelines, if you will. But as a North American Canadian and somebody who was born in the USA 3 times, once I was born a woman, twice as a man. As a man, I was born, served in the same United States Armed Forces, USA, in 2 different wars. The wars were 156 years apart. You just got to read through A Glass Darkly, one of my favorite poems, where George Patton discusses the beliefs in reincarnations. And here I am, 2025, on that May, calling on. We got a new Minister of Defense, David McGuinty, Uncle David McGuinty, and I say Cousin Pig Hexet on the mountain, so that I could discuss a little bit of the total mobile defense theory. Not too much online. I cannot overly discuss it because it's a creative something which deals with the collective North American security complex, and for national security and binational Canada United States joint binational security. It's one of my theories for total security and total service and total defense. Total security, total service, total defense. Total security, total service, total defense, and I cannot discuss it over much. So total mobile defense theory, TMDT. When we add the S to the fifth letter to the acronym, if it's TMDT, total mobile defense theory, when we add an S to that, that means that the theory is put into action and it becomes a system. When the theory is put into action, it becomes a system. So that's when we put it into action, into practice, and just like now in my mind it's put into action, that system becomes the 5th 5-letter acronym to the total mobile defense theory, which is my creation. And of course I started creating it after I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. And it's interesting that I got a letter of reference. Supposedly when I finished high school, I wanted to go to the Royal Military College. I don't remember high school. I just graduated high school, and here I am, you know, with the total mobile defense theory. I guess my suffering, struggle, trauma, and all my self-education and my learning with one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, and my Asperger's, this being an Aspie, I guess the curse can be turned to a blessing, you know. The curse can be turned to a blessing, and that's all we got to get doing with that. And we got to get on that meditation and We also got to put it on the go, and we also got to put it for the left, right, and center. And we got to be analyzing and always be on the thinking and doing side, because it requires both. So the theory has to be put into action, you know. The theory has to be put into action. And here for the North American civilizational complex, you know, from the mountain, my second home, Mount Royal, it's pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Nobody's born a dragon, you become one. And back to 2018 when Donald Trump made a mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, 10% back then, and now with the new tariffs, I just saw in the news, both on CBC, CNN, and CTV, Canadian, United States, that are both Canadian, join Canada, United States, the prices are going to go up soon. The prices for grocery already were the record-breaking debt. Record-breaking debt. Manufacturing date August 2021 during COVID. August 2021. Best Buy China. I wonder how many tariffs are now on TVs like this, because the tariffs supposedly were lowered by 115, but with the other tariffs going in, you know, it's just, we're gonna see. Maybe China decides to keep the tariffs and who knows, renege the tariffs on the US and then put more tariffs on the US goods. Trade wars began, you know, so now we got the trade war and we got Donald Trump making that mistake with Canada, and I gotta go fundamentally that our first interest, our primary interest, from a Canadian perspective, you know, from a Canadian perspective, and the United States joined this, well, the following statement that I'm gonna say has to be yes. It's not a maybe, it's not a no, it's a yes. This is a constant. So it's not a maybe and it's not a no. This following statement, geopolitical statement, which I'm going to make. So for us Canadians and vice versa, the United States, our primary number one geopolitical concern and interest, whether economic, financial, commercial, political, defense, security, all cultural, security, financial, commercial, defense, sports, culture, is to have the best relations with each other, Canada, United States. This is a constant, just like, you know, the pi symbol to calculate for the circumference, the ratio, you know, the circumference divided by the diameter for the circle. It's always a constant. That number doesn't change. It's always 3.141598, and then it continues ad infinitum. And it's usually rounded up to 3.1416. The pi. Not the pie that is edible to eat, but the pi number, the mathematical number. And that number, so this reflects the parallel that I'm making in the geopolitical parallel, is that this number reflects our interest. Primary, number one interest, fundamental interest is to have the best economic, financial, political, social, cultural, military, and defense relations with the United States. And vice versa, this applies for the United States vis-a-vis Canada, and Canada vis-a-vis the US. Reciprocal. This is there's like a highway, you know, goes east, west, north, south. So that's just a yes. This is a constant geopolitical. There's no way out of that. Just like there's no way out of the current financial, a lot of the public and private financial situation where we live now, we're on a conclusive side, and we're at a point where we have reached a potential public financial collapse. Not just Canada, but the United States, because the United States and Canada, we're in a very similar public and private financial parallel. The public and the private finances of both Canada and the United States are very, very, very similar. So here I am, you know, in Montreal, Hawk Island metropolis, big metropolis island, big island of 2.5 million people. Survived COVID, survived being depressed, survived being attacked by surprise, survived being depressed, suicidal, survived being financially stressed, rock bottom, moved with nothing there, full of disease and mold and retrograde amnesia. And after 2017, when I crossed Canada in 2017, that event really changed my whole life. Before that event, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and crossing Canada coast to coast, made me come out of being depressed, made me come out of being suicidal. And I started my fitness journey. I created an efficient, effective program system, which I'm advocating not just the security forces, the military, but also the high schools, as low as 7 years, men and women, and trans, whatever, by other gender, to do my workout. It requires no equipment and increases overall general fitness. Paradoxically, I created it to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario where we would need the mobilization of the population, and that's when officially I turned the A of my surname into an O, and I did so many push-ups, so many squats, so many hawks, and you can see more than 372 sessions of my own created workout training program system, which I created after I concluded that humanity set towards an international conflagration in 2019. So my workout training program was called officially the General Warrior Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, aka the Dragon Army Workout. That is the official title, and of course these are the rules. I'm going to explain it now. So one is allocated 93 minutes 44 seconds and almost 45, because it's actually 93 minutes 44 seconds and 9/11. So the fraction 9 divided by 11th of a second. 9 divided over 11, so 9/11 of 9 divided by 11th, the fraction 9/11 of a second. So it's almost 45, but it's 44 point something decimal representation. It's 93 minutes, so that's basically an hour and a half and 3 minutes. 93 minutes, 93 minutes, 44 seconds and 9/11 of a second to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. Within that timeline, once you start the countdown, go, you cannot stop or pause. You got to march, jog, or run. You keep it in motion. In other words, you got to keep it in motion, and you can do only 30. You can do 13 max reps per set, 3 minimum, anywhere in between. Once you get 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks done, then you're eligible. If you do 300 of those, when you do the first successfully, or a potential dragon, you got to do 300 to reach the level of dragon. As I became Dragon Zero, aka greatest cuckold in the universe. Still challenging Donald Trump. Let's fight on the Canadian-US border and build together the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome in Louisiana, where one of my top 5 Super Bowls was played. The Blackout Ball, aka Bro Ball, aka Hardball Ball is known, the Super Bowl, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens by only 3 points, but that's one of my top 5 favorite of all time Super Bowls. And I watched it like 3 times in the past 5 years during COVID. I watched my favorite Super Bowls quite like regularly. My top 5, I watched them over and over. That's maybe an N.A.C.W.P, you know. That's Asperger's, I guess. N.A.C.W.P, we have these peculiar rituals and repetitions of things which we do, and watching that Super Bowl, I guess, is something which I watched during COVID a few times actually, and it's known as the Blackout Bowl. So before the arena, the Coliseum, which can house about 75,000 people in it, was known as the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Now it's known as the Caesar Superdome. So he changed names over the decades a few times, just like me. Although financially still gotta pay. I died right on this island. I'm being reborn, and Adrian Hannah Dragon, you know. And I changed Adrian with an E, and Hannah and Dragon, D-R-A-G-A-N, became D-R-A-G-O-N. So I died, you know. I'm a universal revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories, the CIT, DRT, and the DFT, and of course my centrism is North American centric. It's North American centric. That also has to be understood fully, because my centrism is North American centric. Right? My centrism is North American centric, a North American type of public-private partnership based centrism. So that also has to be understood fundamentally, just to get a grasp and understand fully of the situational awareness of where we are. And that's how we got to get doing on the go, and that's how we got to get doing on the love side of things. And we got to get that deep knowledge and understanding and wisdom of where we are now, you know, with on the verge of a public-private financial collapse. And that's how we got to get doing. And I got to get out of the way here for my fellow citizens to traverse, and they got to get on that rock and roll with that, and they got to get some of that LOVE, and we got to go doing on the nature, civilization on the sides. I see so much rebuilding we got to do. So much rebuilding we got to do, you know. gotta do a lot of rebuilding, man, of the North American infrastructure, you know, something which we gotta be doing. And that's how we gotta be signalizing on, and we gotta get it on the go, you know. So something which we gotta be mindful of things in life where we turn our heads left and right, and that's how we gotta turn our heads here, because sometimes they come fast, eh? And the cars can come fast, they're in a hurry, so you always gotta get yourself in the appellation and make yourself safe, because we're in the public, you know. So I got myself added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which I usually don't have under the other norm, under the circumstances which are different if I would have stayed home, you know. So now we're gonna go a little bit of road different. Usually we go towards Lachine. Now we're just gonna make a bit different, you know, because I'm not totally resistant to change, you know. I can be flexible, especially economic, financial, commercial nowadays. You know, I wish I'm $10,000 in debt, but we're gonna build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, you know, on the Canadian-US border, and where the inauguration event is gonna be me fighting Donald Trump, fighting Donald Trump. We're gonna be doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. Me fighting Donald Trump, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. Fighting Donald Trump on the Canadian-US border. Gonna build that building Coliseum, which is gonna be 11 times bigger than the North American Imperial League. You know, that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get on the parallel side. We're gonna traverse there, and we're gonna go by that way, like that. See? So usually we came the other way. We're not gonna go through here. I guess you got a little bit of that. No, we're gonna stay in the sun because I put a little bit of sunscreen, so we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love, you know. For the bridge builders, the bakers, and the nurses, the plumbers, you know, I gotta get those electricians, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And we gotta get on that traverse side of things, and we gotta get it for the doors, you know, the construction workers, the bakers, the butchers, the doctors, the plumbers, the politicians, you know. That's what it is, man. Okay, there I can see. If I go straight, should I go towards the sun? It's like feeling like going towards the sun, but I'm gonna take it through here. On the other side there. That's what it is, man. So back to what I was saying, I need to get, oh, this is quite a nice #1 perishables carrier, Shaw Transport. Quite nice. I like, it seems like mountain, and then you got a cactus. There's a sheet. Yeah, no, it's kind of cool. Isn't it kind of cool? At least I like it how it's done there, you know. Just something that I like about it. Anyways, gotta salute the truckers and those who go on the dough, and you gotta get it on the Rock&Roll for the XYZ, and they gotta sing it for you, B, and gotta sing that Rock&Roll for the lovers. And I keep on gotta go by the river this side. Usually we keep on going west, but now we're returning basically like in a circular manner, you know. So here you go, here you have it, and that's where we just diverted the river, and that's what we're gonna go doing like that. See, and that goes all the way, and this side goes all the way, and that one goes all the way. So it comes from that side. That's usually where we go, you know. That's usually where we go. And that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing, you know. So something where we gotta get doing on that, you know. So we're gonna get doing, you know. So back to what I was saying, look at that beautiful crow, you know. Gotta get it on the do, and that's how we're gonna get doing, man. You know. Knock on the war, man. And see here, you see, this continued, but this used to be working in operation here. See, this was in operation. So I'm just gonna go by the side here. I'm just gonna cross. So basically I'm gonna cross on the other side. I'm not gonna stay here in the wilderness. I just wanted to show this one that's discontinued, the rail. So I gotta salute the railway yonder now. All the railway conductors, I don't know how many you are, men, women, whatever, all who work on the railways. I gotta send some LOV, and again our railways and our highways and our supply chains and all the electricity producing like Hydro-Quebec here, Hydro-Quebec go, Hydro-Quebec go in Quebec here, open for sabotage, and I gotta take that LOV, put that red, my favorite color, and gotta love me some of that red truck. So encouraging all the workout, train, exercise, super hot for what it is. And I decided to, instead of going west, we're gonna just do like a turn and go a little bit on the zigzag of things and zigzagging it a little bit, and that's what we're gonna get doing, like a little bit of a drills and gratitude again, and back to me fighting Donald Trump. Super important. We're gonna inaugurate the building of the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border. And we're gonna build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and that's how we gotta get doing on that. And it's gonna be 11 times. "11 times bigger than the sports arena known as the Caesar Superdome now. Caesar Superdome used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-Benz, and now that's what we gotta get doing with that. And we're gonna have it built on the Canadian-US border by Canadian-US joint builders, construction workers, and we're going to inaugurate it by me and Donald Trump fighting on the Canadian-US border. And that Coliseum, North American People's Imperial Coliseum, is going to be for sportis in perpetuitis, meaning we're going to have sports 24/7, televised, worldwide, global, international, 24/7 sports events 24/7, and we're going to have athletics and universities and colleges and the NFL and NBA, MLB. Please give some charity, reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%, and maybe even coming more, because of course there's more prices increasing coming on the horizon ASAP, probably as soon as next week. That was announced by both Canadian and United States television, so we're in a big trouble with both the Publik and the Privee. Me, I don't have credit cards, but I do have a $10,000 card. Look, another one looks like a mushroom cloud, eh? See the sky? It looks like a mushroom cloud. What's going on? Is that an omen? Nuclear war, maybe May 18th is in 3 days, Sunday, so I don't know about that. Maybe June 18th. Maybe postponed by 31 days, June 19th. July 24th, 3 a.m. local Montreal time. That's part of the mountain that you see sometimes. The day we were passing by yesterday's video, we passed by there, and I pointed the camera towards here. But now we're, of course, lots of miles, lots of kilometers. We're far away, but the mountain, you can see it afar off. So you can see the three-peak mountain called Mount Royal. We have Mount Royal, 3 peaks right between the east and the west, of slightly south, not in the south, not exactly in the center between the south and the north, but between the east and the west. Between the east and the west, it is in the center. Quite exactly, almost. So the 3-peak mountain system, Mount Royal, you got West Mount, you got Ultramount, you got West Mount proper, where we were in the many videos there, the Belvedere, Conjurac, my second home. So we're going to build that North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and me and Donald Trump, we're going to fight in a sportsmanship, we're going to keep a sportsmanship, I guess sportsmanship to the best of our abilities, because we might rock and roll a bit nasty, me and Granddaddy Trump, and I would say, how dare you put on Canada. That's not the way to invite us. to invite us to become fused. And I was born in the USA 3 times. Believe I'm a mystic also, believe in reincarnation. So I was born in the United States 3 times post 76. Served in the same United States Army 156 years apart. And gotta give me and Pig Hex said a little bit of discussion for the total mobile defense theory, the total mobile defense theory. Total mobile defense theory, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that, and that's all we're gonna get doing. Total mobile defense theory, and here we are, you know, the beautiful clouds, and we gotta get on that spiel, and or they're hiring something here. I don't know if I'm so good with the public, but depends, I guess. Gotta give them a call, 514-363-0000, 514-363-0000, 514-363 0000, 514-363 363-0000, 514-363-0000. If it's still valid. So me, my valid driver's license, and I got it paid, but it's still valid. I guess it's valid for life after a certain time, but you gotta pay it. You know, once it's good, it's still good, because I mean some of the fundamentals are still old school. You gotta get a little bit of old school with the new school, eh? Gotta get a little bit of old school with the new school, and that's all we gotta get doing with that. And we gotta be fundamental about it, and sometimes we gotta be flexible with it and change. And we're gonna get that North American People's Imperial Coliseum built on the Canadian-US border, and Forgotten Goddess Temple, which I will to build, where everybody can scream, men, women, you know, you can express yourself there. But we're gonna have rooms where, just screaming rooms where you can ritual worship the goddess by screaming, ah, 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 you know, where stuff like that, a bit artistic, but GODDSS. And I'm a spiritual person, mystic, but I got a goddess it, you know. I don't shy away from GODDSS, from goddess that, and I created my surviving to the Forgotten Goddess. I'm a piece of dust. The goddess designated my temple to build my temples, you know, because she's got the pyramids. Goddess got those pyramids. The goddess temples and tombs are the pyramids, which are temples and tombs. So I'm just a piece of dust. Sun, moon, civilization, nature. I know my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. I know my geopolitics, because that is my special interest, and it's 24/7. Even this morning I analyzed the Trump visit, of course, to quite quote-unquote untraditional to visit. Usually it's visiting Canada or Mexico first, and then European allies, and Israel. But Donald Trump, I guess, decided Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. Is it just me, or my eyes are not blocked? It looks like a mushroom cloud in the sky. It looks like a nuclear explosion in the sky. And of course, China tested a strong non-nuclear weaponry 2 weeks ago. And that unresolved conflict from the 20th century in Taiwan might escalate. An invasion of Taiwan can begin on the 18th of May. Could begin tonight, tomorrow. Early June, could begin any day, as a matter of fact. And there was supposed to be a meeting to resolve the Ukraine-Russia. Supposedly it didn't go very well. They're going on a strike. Let's get that North American Collective Workers' Party. That's the pre-PP, Public-Private Partnership Solution, and the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, you know, to be for SSD, Total Security Service and Defense. The North American Integrated Dance League for total environmental education and environmental action, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And that's what we're gonna get doing, the North American Integrated Dance League, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, to be for total environmental education and action, you know, because it requires, of course. Gotta salute the ambulance drivers, firefighters, first responders, and we gotta get that Dragon Army protocol with the new 911. Some protocols which I written after I come out of that depression in 2017. That event really changed my life. I make reference to it often because it changed my whole life, and I started writing the new 911 Dragon protocols for Canada, United States joint, for total security, total service, total defense, for total security, total service, total defense, for total security, total service, total defense, the new 911 protocols, you know, for the Concordium. And there we go, you see on the mountain there, see, it's kilometers and miles away. It's not far. So the mountain isn't far off. It could be seen from along places on the mountain, and that's where we're gonna get drilling a little bit for the bus drivers and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, firefighters, grocery store clerks, you know, all involved in that production, distribution of food. And see there, we're gonna cross on the other side now, just to make it a little bit on the zigzag. Stretch a little bit, challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. Ever since the imposition of tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, and recently the big mistake, no way to invite us by tariffs. Twist your hips, do some push-ups, do some squats. Encourage all to work out, train, exercise, which has been is my medicine and therapy of choice. And via the implementation of my DRT theory, DRT debt refusion theory, we're going to be able to, by the DRT theory imposed, we're going to be able to impose it, and we're going to be able to mass finance citizens to work out, to train, to exercise, citizens to work out, to train, to exercise, citizens to work out, to train, to exercise, because working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And that's what we're going to do with that. And that's how we're going to get doing on that calibration, and that's how we're going to get doing on the love. And here I got to cross on the other side now, maybe not. Let's see how the spiel goes, and I'm going to get out of the way for my fellow citizen, because his safety, my safety. I got a big backpack, so I'm making an analysis that is best if I just take a step or let him slide right through here. See, just like that. So anyways, grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And it's quite hot today in Montreal. It's unusual weather for Montreal. It's about 27, maybe feeling like 30. So that is something which I gotta salute, you know, again, the public workers, and my fellow citizen cousin there, cousins, auntie, and my great North American family, Quebec, Canada, United States, for the total security, total service, total defense, the protocols which we gotta implement, you know, for moving forward in the 21st century, and the debt refusion theory, the DRT. And see, that's where the railway was. It's no longer in use, probably used last time a few decades ago, but you can still see it. So here was a major beginning of the development of Lachine Canal and all the things which we had. Of course, you see the diversion of the river, the huge mega river St. Lawrence, which you see in many of my videos, and you see my fellow cousins there, aunties, cousins going on that bike lanes. Good for you. Get that bike exercise, and as I'm getting these steps into getting a little bit of exercise, I'm gonna get a little minimum. I want to get minimum 4, I guess. Minimum 4. I'm gonna aim for 5, but minimum of 4 hours. I guess we can go minimum 5, let's say, today. Because Monday I started off with a record 7 hours and 18 record for 2025. I think last record was like 6:44. Maybe once it was 7:44. I gotta double check. So I've been breaking personal fitness records in the past during COVID. And back to Donald Trump, Granddaddy Trump. There's no way to invite us by tariffs. Greatest state, cherished, beloved. Gotta get that PPP. We gotta get healthcare with it, and we gotta rebuild the North American ghettos. Gotta rebuild the North American ghettos. We gotta rebuild the North American ghettos. We gotta rebuild the North American inner urban cities, and that's the Dragonomy Pact, you know. We got lots of work here. Our infrastructure is collapsing. A lot of it is been more than 44 years, and we need to get building those 44 tunnels, because in case of a thermonuclear war, how are we gonna roll with it? And you know, we got nuclear warheads, as you see the mountain there, and there's a possibility of a nuclear attack. Supposedly Beyonce's girls run the world, which is paradoxically one of my favorite songs to dance to. You know that dancing is my favorite sport, and Rainbow Dragon, Dragon Zero, General Click Dick, General Little Scar is also priestess. I said priestess, not a hoe, but a GODDSS, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and we gotta get on those butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those on the road now, truckers distributing over the lines via the rails, you know. Gotta think, my brain is 24/7 geopolitics, and mainly for SSD, for the Dragonomy, pledge your legions, and of course, I don't know about 51st. My vision to fuse Canada best. We do have to make a great census. We have to get a common passport, common currency, and we get to get total coast to coast, San Francisco to Montreal, Montreal to San Francisco, northeast, west, north, south, Canada, United States by national first. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. Something which we gotta be meditating, and you see there, it's on the side, and we got those mountains, and we got the island here, we got beautiful people, and we got a lot of potential, and that potential is my Trinity of theories is gonna further enhance it and pledge your allegiance. Allegiance is the song, Dollar Family. And of course, my fitness journey starts today, and we're gonna build together those four, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum for Sports in Perpetuities, where me and Donald Trump, he's gonna be the first sports event, fighting in a sportsmanship like boxing match, and then the Forgotten Goddess Temple, then the Pyramid Scarlet, Crimson Scarlet being the shades of red, right? Crimson and Scarlet are shades of RED. Red, my favorite color, which I'm wearing now. Tops. And Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergent community, part of the N.A.C.W.P community, where less than 0.5% ain't not a lot of Aspies in the world, and for my fellow LGBTQ community, of which I'm part of, androgynous pansexual. So if you want to love, black, white, men, woman, black, white, woman, men, women, men, play that androgynous pansexual, love that BDSM switch, no need to spy on me, stay over there, secret services of Russia, China, don't cross the Atlantic nor the Pacific. But you gotta be 18, just like buying legal cannabis is legal here, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, that MJ, marijuana, cannabis. Just like buying cannabis and liquor, I'm gonna use the same principle. I'm gonna card you if you're not old enough. I'm gonna so you gotta go LOVE, loving somebody your own age, you know, come back when you're of age. Adults, of course, consenting adult love. So now I'm going to discuss the DRT, debt refusion too, because I'm on the subject, and super important for me to discuss the DRT, the debt refusion too, for the creation of the UE, and that's what I got to be doing, the debt refusion too. DRT, debt refusion too, is my theory, of course, and my theory is the only solution. Why do I make that statement? Well, actually something similar to my theory can be the solution, but preferably my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, which is the solution. But of course, something similar to my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, can be potentially the solution, you know. So that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll. I love that. So the DRT stands for debt refusion theory, and in my DRT theory is integrated monetary integration theory. So the motive, the reason why I make the statement that is the only solution, or something similar to my debt refusion theory is the solution, is due to the fact that last year we paid $46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion. A billion has not 7 or 8 zeros. A billion has 9 zeros. Think about that for a minute. So we paid 46.5 billion in interest last year on the public debt. Just the interest. In 2020, 2021, just a few years before last year, the number was 20.3 billion. So if you calculate mathematically, you see that number, it went from 20.3 double, that's 40.6. 20.3 double, that's 40.6. 20.3 double, that's 40.6. The number was 46.5. 46.5. So the number was 46.5. It jumped from 20.3 to 46.5. 20.3 to 46.5. That is the number that it jumped. So it's more than double, because double would have been 40.6, and it is actually 46.5. So obviously, because it's, of course, interest, just because it's interest on the public debt, and not the principal, just because it's interesting, that's what it is, just because it's the interest on the public debt, just because it's the interest on the public debt, that is just the amount. So just because it's the interest on the public debt, that is why I'm making that interjection, due to the fact that it is the interest only. So you realize that we are on the verge of a financial collapse, 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 man. You realize, you know? Now we're on the verge of a financial collapse. We're on the verge of a financial collapse. You realize, because just like an individual whose debt, whose interest double, more than double. If your interest, more than double, from 20.3 to 40.6, from 20.3 to 40.6, from 20.3 to 40.6, that means from 20.3 to 40.6, right? That would have been double. But if just an individual, just let's make a micro parallel. So the micro parallel goes, let's say an individual XYZ, that's what it is, XYZ. If an individual if the interest would have been, I don't have credit cards myself, but of course if the individual would have went from $156 that the interest was paid to $333. That means, of course, that from 156 to 333, that's more than double. That's more than double. So from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333, right? Because 156 double would be 312, so that would be double, but more than double would be 333. So if an individual citizen XYZ, if this happens while the salary does not double, because our GDP in the economy of Canada did not double. That's why we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. We're gonna have to cut something, just like an individual. If the salary increases by 5, 10, or even 15%, you still have to cut and reduce the budget. That is the same principle applies for the public and the private. For the public and the private. There's no other solution here. There's no other solution. Obviously, we have to cut and reduce the spending. We have to cut and reduce the spending. It's not sustainable. You realize we, both the citizen and on the macro level, we're gonna have to cut. What are we gonna cut? Uncle Carney. Banking, work in finance. What are we gonna cut, Uncle Carney? The public service will pick up the garbage, the compost, sanitation, the police, the RCMP, the Mounties, the prisons, the national defense. We're gonna have to cut something, you know? Cut something. We're gonna have to cut and reduce something. There's no other way. There's no other way. That's what it is with that. And that's how we're gonna get doing. There's no other way. We are on the verge of a public financial collapse. It's just mathematics, mathematical principles here. It's very quite straightforward that I've discussed the motive why I make that statement. The interest has more than doubled in just 3 years. And yes, due to COVID, due to the coronavirus events, we had to implement those special programs. And that made it so to maintain the population. But we are on the verge of a public financial collapse, and in parallel, we have reached record-breaking debt. Both Canada and the United States. Credit cards I don't have myself. I have one loan, one debt. $10,000 Royal Bank of Canada, $10,000 RBC, $10,000 to the Royal Bank of Canada. I've been paying it on and off, then I still use it, I go, but it was worth to have that debt, because otherwise maybe I would have died being depressed and suicidal, you know, because I struggled financially for many years, but tight, austere, severe life has somehow, here I am, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee. That's why I gotta get doing. So basically, that's fundamentally, we are on the verge of a public financial collapse, and much of the public and the private are pretty similar. Much of the private citizens of both Canada and the United States, we have reached record-breaking debt, DEBT, for both the public and the private. So obviously, As a citizen, if that happens, that the interest more than doubles in 3 years, then you're gonna have to cut. If you're in that situation, or me, if I would be in that situation, maybe stop smoking. I don't smoke cigarettes, but maybe stop drinking alcohol, going out to the movies, going out to the restaurants, spending. You have to cut the budget, reduce what you spend. It has to be reduced because you pay more on interest. You pay more on interest, way more than double. So that's the mathematical financial principle, mathematical financial principium. So that's where we're gonna have to cut. That's why I'm making the statement that my DRT, debt refusion theory, is the only solution, or something very, very similar to my debt refusion theory is the solution, which has to resemble closely my DRT theory. Closely. That's what it is with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing. So we're gonna have to get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and so we're gonna get doing, you know. So and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing on the go, you know. Here we gotta get doing, and that's what we're gonna get doing. And that's what we're gonna get doing, you know. So obviously we have to reduce the budget. That's kind of nice, I gotta say. So people who have talent, I guess we can make an arrangement to embellish the cities. Like this ice cream, kind of cool with a cherry on top, you know. It's kind of cool. I say some people just are very skilled, right? So we're gonna have to reduce. So that's why we're gonna have to reduce the spending. There's no other way out of this, you know. There's just no way out of the situation. We have to reduce the spending. What are we gonna cut, Uncle Carney? The prisons, the RCMP, the sanitation, you know, police services, Royal Mounties. In the past life, I served a few. It was before it was known as the RCMP. I also served in the military of the United States, and sometimes I was born a man, a woman, a woman, a man, a woman, a man. You get that 50-50 now, I guess. Man, woman, woman, man, androgynous. Aspie, who paradoxically presents on the table the DRT. We have to implement my theory or something similar. So I'm going to explain it now as simple as succinct as I possibly can, because one of the characteristics of Asperger's, due to these brain mutations which are in the brain, basically there's a tendency to utilize too much sophisticated academic intellectual language, which is not helpful in the certain circumstances. So basically what we're gonna do is, of course, we're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, whatever you have as debt. We're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt. There's a hole. Fire in the hole! That triggered past life when I served in the United States Armed Forces. Past life regression. Sometimes most of them happened over the past 7 years on the mountain. Mount Royal, my past life regressions and flashes of reincarnation. But here I am, the DRT. We're going to take all the public and the private debt, and keep in mind that my DRT theory contains monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my debt, your debt, our debt, their debt, all the debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the Canadian public and private debt. That money, we're going to convert it into US dollars, into United States dollars. All the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. And we're going to, of course, convert it into US dollars. And we're going to add it with the United States dollar, because my DRT theory, first and foremost, has to be implemented binationally. Canada, United States. Canada, United States for the 63. 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories for the kingdom. So we're going to take all the public-private debt of Canada, convert it into US dollar. That money, we're going to add it with the United States public-private debt. That money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank, which we're going to call whatever we call. And we're going to create the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE, the universal exchange unit is gonna have the value of the US dollar. We're gonna get rid of the border, create a common passport, mass finance the building of the 44 tunnels, 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war inspired by the Citoyen mountain complex. We're gonna stack them with food and things in which we can survive the North American Collective in case of a thermonuclear war. We're gonna mass finance citizens' fitness to workout, train, exercise, my workout training. We're gonna build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. We're gonna, of course, build more hydroelectric dams here in Quebec. We're gonna, of course, mass finance tourism, and we're gonna build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, lay the foundations for finance the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legions, for the 63 SSD, Security Service and Defense. I say that, I believe that that's a hawk. H-A-W-K, we got hawks. We got H-A-W-K, and I see another one, looks like a nuclear explosion almost. Like a nuclear, post-nuclear mushroom cloud, post-nuclear mushroom cloud, post-nuclear mushroom cloud. So basically we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, convert it, refuse it, and that money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. And that money we're gonna do lots of good. We're gonna call it the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. It could be the new dollar, but basically that's what money is. Whether it's dollars or euros or yens or yuans or, you know, whatever the case may be, shekels or whatever the case may be, it serves a purpose, which is an exchange unit. That's why the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. The UE. We're gonna create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. So across Canada, United States. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Oh, that's a Hydro-Quebec truck. LOV to Hydro-Quebec. We built more than 63 dams. We're gonna build with the UE and with my DRT, implementing my debt refusion theory. We're gonna build more Hydro-Quebec dams. And we're going to build more Hydro-Quebec dams. Our dams here do not pollute. So see all this electricity, the electricity that I'm utilizing to make this vlog, marching dance vlog, my work here as a YouTuber, comes from clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. And even that light there for the traffic lights and all in Quebec goes all the way to six states in the US. That's what they go, and that's why they drill with that, and that's what we gotta get doing here. Pledge your legions. We gotta get it for the DRT, and we gotta get it for the debt refusion team, and we're gonna create complementary covenant cooperative institutions for pleasure and purpose. And for the 21st century, the Dragon Army, aka North American Imperial, SSD, Security Service and Defense League, SSD, Security Service and Defense League, SSD, Security Service and Defense League, and of course we're gonna also create for the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, the North American Integrated Dance League. Eyes are fine, God is blessed, I guess. So the two complementary covenant and Rock&Roll institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army, North American Integrated Dance League, the Dragon Army, North American Integrated SSD, only for SSD, only to function for security, service, and defense. No other purpose than SSD, security, service, and defense. And that's how we're going to go lay about it, and that's what we're going to be doing, and that's how we're going to go doing with that rock and roll, you know. So it's 24/7, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, and implement my philosophies, theories, and the citizen integration theory, and vis-a-vis the DRT, debt refusion theory that I just discussed, and the democratic fusion theory, and have Operation Northern Scorpio rock and rolling, which is Canada, United States, joint United States, Canada, and Mexico, North American Collective. And if Mexico, they got a will, but Canada binational primarily. And implement 24/7 the new 911 Dragon for total security, total service, total defense, total security, total service, total defense, total security, total service, total defense. The new 911 Dragon North American Collective protocols for the new 911, and we're gonna get for that total SSD, security, service, and defense, and we're gonna get on the rock and roll, and gonna get for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the firefighters, plumbers, electricians, IT workers, warehouse workers, those in the daycares who change some diapers, truckers on the road, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, from Montreal to San Francisco. Gonna get that rolling, the DRT, debt refusion theory, that's how we got to be implementing. It's a must. We must not be tardy. It's an emergency situation scenario where we are now, you know. We're record-breaking debt, and that's what we got to be doing. And I'm going to go all the way back and then come back and go get a little bit of that cadence in it, and that's how we're going to get on that rock and roll now. So yeah, always LOV, always grateful, thankful, and gonna have to switch it a bit for that French because we're in La Belle Province. So that's how we're gonna rock it and support the debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange, sometimes which we gotta be doing, and we really have to implement my DRT theory. It's really a point of emergency. You know, there's no other way around where we are financially. We are on the verge that a public financial collapse occurs soon. It's possible that a public financial collapse occurs as soon as possible, and that's why we got to be mindful of the things which we have in common here and which we bind us together in the North American civilizational complex. And you know, mayonnaise, you got to make rolling that capital, and it takes a public-private partnership. My brother citizen Bill Gates got to be a big fan, big supporter of the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the PPP, because fundamentally my dream is a public-private partnership for what I call the North American Civilizational Collective, furthermore for world peace and some justice, but fundamentally I'm a North American as much as I can be intellectual, academic in my geopolitical theorizing and analysis. I'm fundamentally a North American, so you know, I never lived anywhere else, so that's what it is with that, and that's what it is. And first, you know, I got to visit the 50 states. I gotta visit the 50. I gotta visit the 50. That's I visited them in a past life, but I guess I'll visit them in this one as too, because Canada, I cross coast to coast, but I want to visit those dams in the Bay James hydroelectric dams, being in Quebec, and so many things just to visit in Quebec. Just in Montreal, there's so many things to explore. Every time you explore and you learn more things and you do geopolitical meditation, it's like a small country, 2.5 million people, you know, 2.5 million people. We got IP addresses all over, many ISPs, internet service providers, and we got many 3G, 4G, 5G cell phones going on now. That voice goes with those physics, and you know, we got lots of science going on. We got lots of emotions, lots of feelings. We got everything here on the human planet, and I am also somebody who wish I could afford a massage therapy session, you know. But finance, you know, me and SBNS Wall Street, those workers in the public who pick up the garbage, the recycling and public sanitation of North America, San Francisco to Montreal, Northeast, West, South, Best, because they deserve it and earn it more than me, you know. Maybe I can take a bath over the weekend. I was supposed to take a bath today, yesterday, and Tuesday, and I just got into geopolitics and rock and roll, and time flew, and then I had to work out because it's workout, fitness, training, geopolitics, rock and roll 24/7, you know. It's 24/7, fitness, rock and roll, sports and fitness and dancing, and of course geopolitics. Even now, my brain focuses towards the geopolitical complexities of meditations across and for the North American Collective about the DRT in the protocols and making a financial meditation about the well-being, the public and the private well-being of our fellow citizens with record-breaking debt. How much that stress has put on the truckers, on the workers. If the majority of the people have reached record-breaking Canada, United States joint. So imagine the added stress. So I'm stressed, super stressed financially, and have been for years. I had many employments which I loved. But working out, physical activity and gratefulness, because I live simple, austere, severe, makes me good. And mayonnaise, you know, finance some good massage therapy session for the public workers, and money got to be done. With the UE, we're going to be able to revive the public and the private, and going to get that North American Collective Workers Party, and we're going to rock and roll a little bit for that French now because we're La Belle Province. So here we go, rock and roll, ready for that French because we in La Belle Province. Bienvenue à la marche danse de votre dragon, arc-en-ciel, la méditation déjà. Vous savez que c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique sur la danse, c'est mon sport préféré. Puis je fais l'entraînement physique maintenant avec le rock and roll. Je vais commencer par une chanson rock and roll pour les camionneurs. S'en vont de l'est à l'ouest, le soleil c'est la canicule. Je vois la dame, elle bouge des fesses, ma tante, elle bouge des fesses, mon oncle bouge, sort sa langue. Qu'est-ce que tu me fais? Tu me fais des grimaces? Ben nuage, ben canicule, ben la belle province, regarde, c'est comment? Logistique des services, logistique, ben bénite, je veux rien savoir. Une bière froide à la place, regarde sa plage, ça danse, on est des gens même, ça sent comme la canicule. Et le beau ciel que je me prononce d'ici de la gauche à de la droite. Ah, bas de Cap d'Azur, travail en construction, s'il vous plaît. Ben oui, c'est le rock&roll, c'est mon intérêt spécial. Puis vous savez que j'ai l'Asperger, je vis avec cette condition de neurodivergence, fait que j'ai ces intérêts spéciaux, aussi connus comme intérêt obsessif, mais dire obsessif, pour moi, en tant que neurodivergent, ça ne rend pas justice à ce que je suis fondamentalement. Puis nous, les Aspi, on n'est pas beaucoup, hein. Il y a une petite minorité d'Aspergers dans le monde, c'est moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, c'est 0,44%. 0,44%, 0,44%. Il n'y en a pas beaucoup, là. C'est 0,44% d'aspi dans le monde. Fait qu'il n'y en a pas beaucoup. Puis, c'est pas une maladie mentale. L'Asperger, ce n'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. Notre cerveau, il est fait différemment. Fait qu'il y a une mutation dans le cerveau. Fait qu'à cause de cette mutation, dans certaines choses, on a de la misère. On n'est pas si bon dans des choses de la société, dans des normes de la société, on peut avoir de la misère avec certaines choses, tel l'espace personnel, tu sais, des fois on se rapproche des gens, on va répéter 2-3 fois la même chose, ainsi que l'écolélia. L'écolélia, c'est possible que des aspis, des autistes hautement fonctionnels, qui vont dire 2-3 fois la même chose, ou qui vont répéter la même phrase, le même paragraphe que quelqu'un dit. Si quelqu'un va dire quelque chose, ça veut dire que c'est possible que l'aspi va répéter la même chose. Fait que c'est pas pour insulter, c'est pas par volonté d'offenser, rien de ça. C'est juste que notre cerveau il est différent. Fait que nous, on voit le monde différemment. Fait qu'on est différent. Fait qu'on a cette différence qui peut causer de l'angoisse, qui peut causer quand même bien du stress, bien des problèmes, bien de la difficulté, tu sais. Ça peut causer bien de la difficulté là, dans certaines choses. Comme moi, l'emploi, vis-à-vis de l'emploi, malheureusement, chez les autistes, les Aspergers, les Aspi, c'est très haut. Le taux, c'est élevé. C'est très élevé, le taux de sans-emploi. Les sans-emploi chez les autistes, les Aspergers, parce que c'est quand même énorme, comparé à la pourcentage. La majorité, vous êtes les 99,56, hein? C'est de la grosse majorité. De plus que 99%, vous êtes les neurotypiques, comparé à nous, les neurodivergents. Puis nous, l'Asperger, c'est que notre cerveau, dans le cerveau là, des Asperger, il y a des mutations qui se sont produites. Fait que ces mutations-là, ça fait qu'on voit le monde différemment. On a ces choses que ça peut être différent, ça peut être un peu bizarre. On peut être intense, on peut être concentré dans nos choses, qu'on a nos intérêts spéciaux. Puis c'est pour ça que, tu sais, des fois, il faut dire aussi, puis communiquer aux autres qu'est-ce que sont les caractéristiques de l'Asperger, puis que c'est pour pas s'inquiéter, là, parce que moi, je suis quelqu'un qui n'aime pas la violence, tu sais. Je peux être intense, je peux être concentré, mais j'aime pas la violence. Je l'ai vécu moi-même, mais j'ai plein de cicatrices, j'ai vécu le traume, je me suis fait attaquer par surprise, je suis tombé, je cognais la tête à terre, puis j'avais mon bras disloqué, puis je suis allé à l'hôpital, ils m'ont replacé comme, ils m'ont recraqué le bras droit, puis, hey, c'est beau ça. Ils m'ont recraqué le bras droit. Ils m'ont recraqué le bras droit. Puis ils m'ont mis sur des médicaments pour la douleur. Fait que j'étais sur des médicaments. J'étais comme dans une période de coma. Comme dans un coma, là. J'étais comme dans un coma. Fait que... En tout cas, j'ai vécu mon... Pour dire que j'aime pas la violence, mais je suis hyper vigilant. J'ai cette hyper vigilance. Puis depuis 2017 là, que j'ai traversé le Canada, avant ça, j'étais en dépression suicidaire. Puis quand j'ai traversé le Canada, après que j'ai traversé le Canada, cet événement, ça m'a complètement changé la vie. Traverser le Canada, là, ça m'a fait établir un esprit de corps solide avec le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis, parce que c'est nos frères et sœurs. Je le considère comme une famille, puis de côte à côte, océan. Puis j'ai eu comme une révélation. Tu sais, j'ai dit, wow, tellement de choses à faire, à voir au Canada. J'ai commencé à m'entraîner, puis j'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres depuis. Fait que j'ai perdu quand même bien du poids. Tu sais, j'ai perdu beaucoup de poids. Après cet événement-là. Fait que cet événement, ça m'a changé ma vie. J'ai eu la COVID, je pensais que j'allais mourir, février 2020, puis j'ai mes écritures, j'ai mes compositions de rock-and-roll au quotidien. J'en compose en anglais puis en français. Je suis artiste, philosophe et analyste théoricien en géopolitique. Puis la géopolitique, c'est mon intérêt spécial. Fait que même maintenant, quand je suis sur la route, je fais dans ma thèse, je fais des analyses en géopolitique. Je pourrais en parler pendant des heures et des heures et des heures. C'est mon royaume, vraiment. C'est qu'est-ce que je fais au quotidien depuis bien des années. Puis au point de dire, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. de la géopolitique dans le monde, à l'international, là, dans le monde, là, la fin de l'ordre qu'on a connu, de la globalisation, puis les fractions qui se passent dans le monde. Je l'ai prévu en 2019, en octobre-novembre, pour dire que c'est sûr que c'est des analyses académiques du côté intellectuel un peu sophistiqué peut-être, philosophique, intellectuel un peu trop peut-être pas pour d'autres, ça dépend pour qui, mais pour faire un résumé encore une fois, c'est que une des causes principales, c'est que j'ai conclu qu'à cause qu'il y avait bien des régions, des civilisations, des nations, des pays qui n'ont pas résolu leur conflit du 20e siècle, surtout qui datent de la guerre froide, de la période connue comme la guerre froide, entre 1947 et 1991, entre le mars 1947 et décembre 1991. Une guerre froide qui a duré plus que 44 ans, quasiment 45 ans, cette guerre froide a duré. Fait que c'est sûr que j'ai prévu que ces conflits-là vont reprendre dans le 21e siècle, ils vont recommencer. Fait que c'est ça qui arrive à l'Ukraine puis la Russie. La Russie et l'Ukraine, c'est des conflits qui datent de la guerre froide, ça. Ils n'ont pas résolu du 20e siècle. En Israël puis Palestine, Hamas, il a été fondé dans les années 80 durant la guerre froide. Puis possible, là, on ne sait pas qu'est-ce qui se passe exactement, on doit savoir plus. Il y a peut-être un cessez-le-feu entre l'Inde et le Pakistan. Mais l'Inde et le Pakistan, c'est deux puissances. Ils ont des armes nucléaires, des bombes nucléaires qui ont fait durant le 20e siècle. Fait que leur conflit, ça date aussi du 20e siècle. Après 1947, quand il y a eu l'indépendance de l'Inde, plutôt à dire. Fait que c'est tous des conflits du 20e siècle ici, là, au Québec, au Canada, dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand complexe de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. En tant que philosophe, je me prononce, puis je dis ma philosophie, l'Amérique du Nord, on n'est pas divorcé de l'Occident, mais on a des distinctions. On a une civilisation émergente qui émerge depuis après la fin de la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Le complexe de l'Amérique du Nord. Et ici, on a fait ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique du français pour avoir la continuité de la paix puis de l'harmonie, pour avoir se prononcer ainsi, de l'harmonie puis la paix, pour avoir la continuité de la paix et de l'harmonie, bien sûr, pour l'avoir, pour le faire, pour la continuité de l'harmonie. On a fait ce grand compromis. Et bien sûr, on a bien du travail à faire avec nos frères et sœurs noirs, tu sais. Et tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre, de les accueillir le plus possible, comme pour le français, mais moi aussi, je dois le faire en tant qu'individu. Puis je dis toujours, merci d'avoir fait un effort en français. Bon, vous avez fait un effort, mais c'est bon. Bravo, continuez à le faire, je sais pas. Continuez à faire un effort, fait que c'est si, that's it, that's all. Pour pas le savoir, là, tu sais. Merci d'avoir fait un effort, je vous encourage à continuer à faire votre effort, puis je vous encourage là-dessus. Fait que merci que vous avez fait cet effort. Vous avez fait un effort. C'est l'individu, je dois le faire, moi aussi, comme pour l'environnement. Si je ne le fais pas, mais on ne le fait pas. Comme quand je vais à la montagne, des fois, vous voyez dans mes vidéos, je regarde qu'est-ce qui se passe dans le recyclage, dans les poubelles. Puis des fois, je vois dans les poubelles, c'est bien des choses qui doivent aller dans le recyclage. Des bouteilles, du plastique, des choses comme ça. Ça prend l'individu aussi, l'action du collectif. Puis mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, c'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé pour ce que j'appelle le collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Pour le collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, pour en faire, bien sûr, pour le faire, bien sûr. Merci pour l'encouragement, j'imagine, mais j'ai plus besoin de massage que de la consolation verbale là, que d'autres choses, là, mais merci quand même. C'est apprécié, là, je l'apprécie. Vous voyez, ça, c'est une chose de l'Asperger, peut-être. Des fois, on nous demande comment ça va, puis je dis, je suis en crise financière, ou je suis comme ça. C'est parce que nous, on voit les choses différemment. Fait que si on ne se sent pas bien, on va le dire, tu sais. Le monde, on s'entend dire, ouais, ça va, tu sais, ça va, toi, ouais. Mais nous, les aspis, on est différents, fait qu'on va dire vraiment comment on joue ça. Comme ça, pas, ça me tente pas. Ou, tu sais, on est plus direct qu'on peut offenser, mais c'est juste que... Puis, il y a bien des gens qui pensent que l'Asperger n'a pas de compassion ou l'empathie. C'est pas ça, c'est parce que nous, on le montre par des actions à place de... Tu sais, des consolations verbales, comment je m'excuse, je suis désolé, comme tantôt, je parlais avec quelqu'un, je m'excuse, je dis, excusez-vous pas, mais c'est pas votre faute, vous n'avez pas à vous excuser, c'est pas votre faute, pas votre faute, vous n'avez pas à vous excuser. Vous n'avez pas à vous excuser, tu sais. c'est ça, l'Asperger, je suis différent, fait que je vis avec. J'ai perdu beaucoup d'emplois, mais j'ai eu bien de l'emploi, j'ai bien aimé, puis j'ai perdu beaucoup d'emplois. Je suis un mystique, je crois à la réincarnation des fois. J'étais né homme-femme, vous avez 50-50, monsieur, madame. Je suis androgyne, pansexuel, je fais partie de la communauté LGBTQ, monsieur, madame. 50-50, mais en géopolitique, c'est mon intérêt spécial, c'est 24 sur 24, c'est mon royaume. Fait que j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. J'ai la preuve, j'ai la vidéo en ligne quand je l'ai discuté la Troisième Guerre mondiale. Ça en venait sur l'horizon. Fait que je pensais vraiment que ça allait s'en venir. Fait que c'est quelque chose que je dois le faire moi-même. Fait que c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je le fasse. Et il faut qu'on le fait. Puis il faut qu'on aille travailler ensemble pour le partenariat public-privé. Bien, c'est quelque chose que moi aussi, je dois le faire dans le cas d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui. Tu sais. Ben, en étant androgyne pansexuel, je vis avec mes cicatrices. Je vais pas me dire d'autres choses là-dessus. Hein. Je voulais me faire l'amour, noir, blanc, homme-femme. Il va faire une condition là, peut-être l'hygiène, puis le consentement c'est important, puis il faut que vous soyez adulte. Il faut que vous soyez adulte. Comme je vous carte, comme pour aller acheter du cannabis à SQDC, là, pour aller du alcool ou du vin, là, mais je vais appliquer le même principe. Fait que là, je vais pas tarder à discuter de la TRD, c'est important avant que je passe à d'autres choses, que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, et c'est la seule solution qui peut nous sortir, qui peut nous sauver de qu'on est rendu du point de vue des finances publiques, ainsi que bien dans le privé. On se retrouve au Canada et aux États-Unis dans la même situation similaire, la dette publique-privée, on est rendu à une dette record. On a une dette record public-privé aux États-Unis et au Canada en même temps. Financièrement, c'est un paradoxe, mais sinon, ma théorie ou quelque chose qui ressemble à ma théorie, pourquoi je me prononce ainsi? Car l'année passée, là, vous savez qu'on a payé 46,5 milliards, OK? Milliards sur la dette publique, d'intérêt seulement. M. Carney, bien, il a travaillé dans les finances dans la banque, dans les banques. Hey? Imaginez-vous qu'en 2020-2021, le montant d'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette publique canadienne était de 20,3 milliards. 1 milliard, ça n'a pas 7 zéros, ni 8, ni 9. Ça a 9 zéros. Pas 7 zéros, pas 8 zéros, ça a 9. 1 milliard, c'est 1000 millions. Fait qu'imaginez-vous un peu, pensez-y, faites le calcul mental un peu de ces finances. OK? Si le montant était 20,3 en 2020-2021, l'année fiscale 2020-2021, ça veut dire que le montant a plus que doublé parce que 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. Le montant était 46,5 et oui, à cause de la COVID, et moi-même, j'ai eu le coronavirus. Entre février 2020 et mars 2020, je pensais vraiment que j'allais mourir. Je pensais vraiment que c'était mon dernier chapitre. J'ai survécu. J'ai survécu. J'ai survécu. Le coronavirus, depuis ce temps-là, je vis à tous les jours au quotidien, comme ça serait mon dernier jour, mais j'ai de l'espoir pour demain. Puis, on est proche d'avoir un effondrement là, financier public, parce qu'on ne peut pas soutenir ça, notre économie, là, le produit intérieur brut canadien n'a pas doublé. Puis là, il y a des tarifs. Puis qu'est-ce que je vois ce matin dans mes études, mes analyses en géopolitique? Qu'est-ce qui annonce au CBC, au CNN, aux États-Unis, puis au Canada, CTV? Qu'est-ce qui annonce? Que l'augmentation des prix chez Walmart, chez Loblaws s'en vient. On est déjà surendetté. Il y a un record de dette chez les Canadiens et nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis. Donc, le Canada et les États-Unis, on est dans une situation financière, publique-privée, très similaire. Vous comprenez qu'est-ce qui se passe? Le surendettement, les cartes de crédit, l'intérêt, c'est rendu à un point record. Fait que là, du point de public, l'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette a plus que doublé. Ça a plus que doublé. De 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. C'était 46,5. 46,5. 46,5. 46,5 mille. 4,5 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est 9 zéros. Donc, c'est équivalent à 46 000 millions l'intérêt qu'on a payé. C'est ça l'équivalent. Vous imaginez, là? Ça a plus que doublé. C'est sûr, encore une fois, à cause de la coronavirus, les programmes que le gouvernement a dû implémenter, ça a fait ainsi. Ça a fait ainsi. La TRD, c'est la solution, ou quelque chose qui ressemble à ma théorie de la refusion de la dette. Dedans ma TRD est inclus la théorie de la fusion, la théorie de l'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire, c'est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation dans les années 90. Les Allemands, les Français, les Italiens, ils ont fini, ils ont détruit leur banque centrale. Ils ont fait la banque centrale commune de l'Europe, la création de la banque centrale européenne, puis ils ont mis en circulation l'euro. Donc, dans ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, est intégrée cette théorie. Donc, je vous l'explique. C'est la solution, il n'y en a pas d'autre. Je demande à M. Carney qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans le budget, parce que comme un individu, là, on va faire le parallèle mathématique financier pour un individu. Un individu, là, citoyen, citoyenne, moi, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, j'ai 10 000 $ de dette sur une ligne de crédit à la Banque royale du Canada, la RBC. Et donc, mais si, mettons, l'individu, citoyen, citoyenne, a payé 156 d'intérêt en 2020-2021. Si le montant se rend à 333, parce que 156 fois 2, c'est 312. Donc, pour que ça soit plus que double, il faut que ça soit à environ 333. 333. Ça soit plus que double. Fait que parallèlement, l'individu, il faut que ça coupe dans le budget. Il faut qu'il arrête de boire quelque chose qu'il a acheté avant, qu'il arrête de sortir, les sorties au cinéma, au restaurant, de se commander de la nourriture, peut-être d'arrêter de fumer la cigarette. Moi, je ne fume pas la cigarette, là, mais... ou le cannabis, ou des choses comme... Il va falloir une réduction, il va falloir qu'elle, lui, citoyen, citoyenne, il va falloir qu'il coupe dans le budget quelque chose. Parce que ça ne peut pas être soutenu. Tu ne peux pas soutenir la dépense. Les dépenses, on ne peut pas continuer à avoir des dépenses de même si l'intérêt double. À moins que le salaire double. Il n'y a pas bien des salaires qui ont doublé la moyenne du salaire là, entre 2020 et 2025, entre février 2020 et 2025, c'était 4,4 % d'augmentation en moyenne. Fait que même si ça augmente 5 %, 10 %, 15 %, l'individu, il faut qu'il coupe dans le budget. Qu'est-ce que ça va couper? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans le budget? Qu'est-ce que vous allez couper? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper, M. Carney, l'oncle Carney? Mon oncle Carney, qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? La défense nationale, la sanitation, ceux qui ramassent la poubelle, le compostage dans le public, la santé, la police, la GRC, c'est la gendarmerie royale canadienne, les prisons peut-être, ben, c'est sûr que je veux la réhabilitation de nos frères et sœurs qui ont perdu leur liberté, là, par mes protocoles puis ma théorie bien sûr, puis les protocoles pour la sécurité, service et défense totale, sécurité, service, défense totale du Collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, Canada et États-Unis pour les nouveaux protocoles du Dragon 911, parce que 911 c'est pour et bien sûr au Canada et aux États-Unis, c'est 911, bien sûr, c'est le protocole que j'ai écrit après 2017 quand je suis sorti de ma dépression, puis j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec Québec, le Canada et les États-Unis, mais ça m'a vraiment fait sortir de ma dépression, fait que ça encourage les gens à faire l'entraînement physique, puis le tourisme, puis en faisant l'implémentation de ma TRD, on va pouvoir faire le renouveau du partenariat public-privé du Collectif de l'Amérique du Nord dans le 21e siècle. Fait qu'on va faire l'implémentation de la TRD. On n'a pas le choix de le faire. C'est urgent. Ben c'est ça, c'est urgent. C'est urgent, là. C'est possible qu'on ait un effondrement demain, après-demain, lundi prochain qui s'en vient. C'est énorme, là. C'est l'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette, c'est énorme. C'est juste ça. C'est juste ça. Fait que je vous l'explique. Donc, dans ma TRD, tu inclus la théorie d'intégration monétaire. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, ma dette de 10 000 $, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, que tu ailles 5 000 ou 10 000, de côte à côte, toute la dette publique-privée. Toute cette dette-là, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000. On va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis, toute la dette publique privée canadienne. On va faire l'addition avec la dette publique des États-Unis, parce qu'il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma TRD binationale, Canada et États-Unis aussi. On va finir avec la frontière. On va faire un grand recensement. On va faire un passeport commun. On va financer en faisant l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la création d'une nouvelle monnaie qu'on va appeler l'UI, qui va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. UI, U point unité, A point échange ou point universel. U point unité, A point échange ou point universel. U point unité, A point échange ou point universel. Unité d'échange universelle. L'unité d'échange universelle, l'unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel, l'unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, U point unité, E point échange ou point universel, l'unité d'échange universel. UI, U point unité, E point échange ou point universel, l'unité d'échange universel. On va faire bien sûr l'implémentation de l'UI. U point, U point, U point, unité, A point échange ou point universel. Oui, l'unité d'échange universel aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Ça pourra être moins de 10, mais pas plus par principe. Fait 3.33, 6.1, 9.3, 7.18, 4.18, mais pas plus. Pas plus. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. On va faire de l'addition ensemble. Avec cet argent-là, on va construire plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec. On va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique. On va construire les 44, le chiffre après 43, avant 45, c'est 44. Tunnels dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire pour la continuité du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. On va, inspiré par la montagne Cheyenne, qui est le siège social de notre alliance militaire avec les États-Unis, soit le NORAD, et inspiré par le village souterrain de Montréal. Puis on va les mettre ensemble pour que ça aille bien, pour qu'il y ait de la nourriture, pour que s'il y a une guerre nucléaire, on va pouvoir sauver des vies, blablabla. Bâtir les 44 tunnels, bâtir le Colisée du peuple impérial de l'Amérique du Nord sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis pour Sportus in Perpetuitis, pour qu'on ait du sport à perpétuité. Ça veut dire on va faire Sportus in Perpetuitis. C'est le premier événement. Ça va être moi contre Donald Trump que je vais faire, bien sûr. Depuis 2018, je fais appel à Donald Trump pour me combattre dans un combat de boxe sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis. Depuis 2018, je fais appel, bien sûr, à Donald Trump pour venir me combattre dans un combat de boxe. Depuis qu'il a imposé les tarifs sur l'aluminium et l'acier du Canada. Avant ça, je venais juste de sortir de ma dépression. Je faisais mes analyses en géopolitique et théorie sur le côté. J'ai bien sûr ma théorie pour la SSD totale, sécurité, service, défense. Et bien sûr, la théorie de défense. Théorie mobile de défense totale ou théorie totale de défense mobile ou théorie de défense mobile totale. La théorie, TD, théorie de défense, M, TDM, mobile total, S. Puis quand on rajoute le S sur les 4 acronymes, la théorie, T pour théorie, D pour défense, M mobile total, quand on ajoute le S pour le système, ça devient que la théorie est mise en action, est mise en pratique. On parle de l'opération Scorpion du Nord parce que je fais appel à l'opération Scorpion du Nord. Puis je ne peux pas discuter trop de la théorie mobile de défense totale ou la théorie de défense mobile totale, comment tu veux la nommer l'un à l'autre, puis quand ça devient un système, c'est un système, parce que ça a un rapport avec la sécurité nationale. Donc, je dois discuter avec le nouveau ministre de la Défense, McGuinty, puis le secrétaire de la Défense nationale, Pig Hexet, et bien sûr, le haut placé dirigeant pour la sécurité et le service qu'on a à Canada, États-Unis, binational, parce que c'est relatif à la sécurité nationale. Donc, je ne peux pas divulguer trop sur cette théorie de défense totale mobile est faite, conçue pour le 21e siècle, et je l'ai développée, je l'ai créée après 2017 quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Puis la majorité de mon travail en géopolitique et en politique, ça vient depuis ce temps-là, 2017, quand j'ai sorti de ma dépression. Puis bien sûr, j'étais suicidaire, mais c'est des choses qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même. Donc, c'est ces choses-là, bien sûr, que on doit faire la TRD. On doit faire l'implémentation de la TRD. Théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. La théorie de la refusion de la dette. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse ensemble et bien sûr qu'on fasse dans cet événement, bien sûr, qu'on est rendu pour en faire, bien sûr, aujourd'hui. Parce qu'on est à la veille d'avoir un effondrement total des finances, on est à d'avoir un effondrement financier total. Fait que c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse nous-mêmes dans cet environnement. Et c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. L'implémentation de la TRD, on est en veille d'avoir un effondrement. Hein. Tellement la dette, là, l'intérêt qu'on a payé l'année passée, c'est tellement grave et critique qu'on est en veille d'avoir un effondrement sur l'horizon. C'est possible qu'un effondrement commence même demain. Là. Comme demain, la Chine principale peut envahir le Taïwan. La République populaire de la Chine peut envahir le Taïwan demain. Hein. C'est des choses qui peuvent se passer parce que c'est encore, on se demande pourquoi ils ont investi tellement dans les armes nucléaires. Puis c'est la géopolitique 24/24 pour moi-même. C'est ces événements que je porte attention, bien sûr, au quotidien, mais c'est des choses que je dois apporter moi-même. Puis il faut qu'on fasse un grand recensement et bien sûr un inventaire Canada, États-Unis. La réclamation, il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma théorie de la refusion de la dette. Avec l'implémentation de cette théorie, on va faire la création de 2 institutions pour le 21e siècle de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée du Dragon, soit la Ligue de sécurité, service, défense totale, les légions pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires ensemble, un passeport commun, un grand recensement. On va se diriger pour la sécurité de côte à côte, les ports et les aéroports. Les ports et les aéroports, les ports et les aéroports, c'est sûr que ça va mieux servir pour avoir les ports et les aéroports. Puis on va faire cette nouvelle institution de service, sécurité, défense. Service, sécurité, défense. C'est sûr. Tous les services possibles, intégrés avec tous les autres pour l'économie du commerce qui existe, intégré avec tous les services de sécurité qui existent, puis l'armée, bien sûr, l'armée du Dragon, avec tous les services de sécurité et de défense qui existent, l'armée du Dragon aussi connue, les légions de l'Amérique du Nord Imperial pour la SSD Total, sécurité, service de défense, ils vont juste faire l'opération pour la SSD, sécurité, service total, juste faire l'opération pour la SSD, sécurité, service, défense, et pour la SSD, sécurité, service, défense. Puis vis-à-vis, parallèlement et complémentaire à l'armée du Dragon, ça sera l'armée de la déesse qui danse, soit la Ligue de danse internationale intégrée de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'environnement, pour l'éducation de l'environnement, puis bien sûr prendre l'action environnementale, nettoyer les vallées, les ponts, les montagnes, puis bien sûr danser pour l'environnement. Ça prend l'action, sinon je peux philosopher et tout ça, mais ça prend l'action. Je dois remercier les pompiers, les boulangers, les camionneurs, tous ceux qui sont sur la route maintenant, ceux qui ont changé dans les garderies des couches. Ils ont changé des couches aujourd'hui dans les garderies, puis il y a bien du travail qui s'est fait, bien sûr, puis du travail en construction, du travail sur les autoroutes, du travail, bien sûr, les camions, les camionneurs qui ont fait bien du travail, qui se passe maintenant, de côte à côte, de Océan, les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec. Go Hydro-Québec, go, on va avec la TRD, on va bâtir plus de centrales, puis bien sûr, on va faire bien des choses en commun. Puis fondamentalement, mon rêve, c'est un appel à un PPP, soit un partenariat public-privé. Quand je dis prêter allégeance Légion, vous êtes famille, c'est 100% pour moi celle-là. Donc prêter allégeance Légion, puis pour le royaume, le royaume, soit le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, pour le faire fondamentalement, c'est un appel à un partenariat public-privé pour le faire, bien sûr pour le faire de la création ici, puis pour le collectif, il faut enlever la frontière, faire un passeport commun, s'unir et puis bien sûr faire la création de l'UI, l'unité d'échange universelle. Imaginez tout le travail qui est fait, même maintenant, vous voyez comment, à cause de l'Asperger's, mon cerveau il fonctionne. Je vois l'autoroute, je vois des camions, fait que je les mets dans une constellation, je les mets dans un parallèlement. Je les mets bien sûr dans un point de vue. Hey, l'araignée, vous n'êtes pas gêné à cause de la pollution. La pollution, l'araignée, fait la toile bien forte. Regarde, De la belle province, j'ai commencé l'araignée de la piste, ça danse sur les plaines de sa piste de 17 régions province. Puis comme je vous dis, ben, à cause de l'Asperger, je vois le camion, puis je vois d'autres camions, l'autoroute. Fait que mon cerveau se dirige vers l'analyse en géopolitique. Fait, en sachant que nos autoroutes, nos transports, parce qu'ils portent des biens, des fois ils transportent des biens qui sont nécessaires au collectif de la civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, qui sont nécessaires à 100% au collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Et bien sûr, à cause de ces... Qu'est-ce qu'ils transportent? Bien sûr, mon cerveau, je mets ça, l'événement maintenant, qui se passe maintenant, je mets ça dans un contexte de la géopolitique et le fait que j'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019. Fait que mes analyses intégrées pour la théorie de la SSD totale, soit pour le service sécurité défense, pour les légions pré-intelligence, légions pour l'armée du dragon, de côte à côte de océan, puis qu'on construit ensemble là, sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis, le palais, le Colisée du peuple impérial pour le sport à perpétuité, pour avoir du sport 24/24, puis le temple de la déesse comme dieu déesse. Et bien sûr, pour bâtir le temple de la déesse, le palais du peuple impérial, la maison du dragon écarlate, rouge, bien écarlate c'est comme, c'est rouge vif là, écarlate. Écarlate, dans le fond, c'est juste un rouge très vif, très enflammé, disons. C'est un rouge écarlate. Et bien sûr, pour le faire, pour la continuité de le faire, bien sûr, pour continuer, bien sûr, pour le faire, bien sûr, on va faire l'intégration. On va faire mise en application, puis on va faire construire le temple de la déesse oubliée, le palais du peuple impérial, pour avoir du sport à perpétuité. Et le premier événement, ça sera moi et Donald Trump. On va faire un combat de boxe ensemble, moi et Donald Trump. Depuis 2018, je fais appel. Et bien sûr, Pré-Allégeance Légion, c'est la chanson. Et je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. Et puis bien sûr, le corbeau, ça c'est un bon signe, je veux dire. Puis la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette vis-à-vis de la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, vis-à-vis de la théorie de la fusion démocratique. Il faut faire l'implémentation dans le 21e siècle. On est rendu au point grave de la géopolitique. Je vois parallèlement que ce que j'ai prévu en 2019 est en train de se dérouler d'une manière que je l'ai prévu. Puis ça se déroule depuis à peu près plus que 45 mois, je dirais, là, plus que 3 ans et demi. Puis j'ai un couple de solutions, pas toutes. Pas toutes. Et les araignées sont... Des araignées, une chanson, puis je vous laisse avec une chanson parce que c'est vrai que le rock&roll, c'est encore l'autre de mes intérêts spéciaux, parallèlement à la géopolitique. Les araignées de Montréal, sur le pont de la métropole, ils m'encouragent peut-être, pas besoin des applaudissements, juste vous voir en train de vous donner ensemble des bisous et des chatouilles, puis ça bouge. Un peu fou folle, là, les mains dans les airs, c'est la canicule, là, mais regarde le ciel, là. Dans cette région de la province, peut-être en France, vont-ils nous entendre? Ben oui, regarde. Regarde le cordon, ça tombe les mains dans les airs, puis les chatouilles, ça mouille. Puis les pieds dans les airs, ah ouais, puis je danse, puis regarde. Les travailleurs en construction ont bâti 3 appartements des blocs sur la grue Rock. Ça rock&roll, il faut que vous descendez en haut, en montant, en descendant, en montant les araignées. Sur le pont, quel bon, hey yo, c'est du rock'n'roll de votre dragon. C'est rock'n'roll 24/24, mon cher, mes chers citoyens, concitoyennes, des belles fleurs jaunes, en anglais maintenant des cadences, cadence. Hey, get ready, we're gonna let that mane out, beautiful yellow flower. We're entering the wilderness again, so we're just gonna let the mane out, and we're gonna do that cadence, ready? Ready for the cadence. Let's go. Property of the Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance, heat wave, auctioning everything that I'm wearing. The red, and the other red, so auctioning everything here that I'm wearing, and that's what it is with that. So beautiful sky there. We're gonna go get it for the beautiful sky, and that's what we're gonna get doing, and get that cadence for the Dragon Army special. For the Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army, don't use it unless you're pledge your allegiance, legion, an ally. If you're an ally, you can use. Allies can use, otherwise gonna be like dust and glass and fireballs in your mouth if you're antagonistic to the Dragon Army. For SSD, total security, total service, total defense, rebirth, pledge your allegiance, legions, our family. And here we're gonna rock and roll it for the cadence. Get ready, property of the Dragon Army, freestyle mode, cadence army. And here we're gonna go, beautiful sky. See how beautiful it kind of looks, like mushroom clouds also. Kind of looks a bit like mushroom clouds, and that's what we're gonna doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing, you know. So it's something which we're gonna get doing with that, and get that cadence. Get ready for the cadence, Dragon Army cadence. Here, ready or not, here I come, here we come. It does look like mushroom clouds. Or am I tripping? Freestyle, 15th of May. Spring heat wave thing, feels like 30 degrees, feels like summer for the Dragon Army. We got beautiful spiders there lining it up. Spiders on the wheel! Spiders everywhere. There's a little spider, see? Look at that. Spiders, where you be? I got the goddess kisses that you see. Full of spiders, ILOV, don't harm my spiders, gonna goddess thunder you. Goddess, gonna invoke the goddess to thunder you. Spiders, where you be? I love spiders, and hey, they're here. Survive. Get ready. Cadence, Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army. You can only sing if you're an ally. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Create a freestyle mode. May 15, 2025, or 104 years post. 101 years, 121 years post, 1904 or 1909, whatever, 1984. For that book of the law, pledge your allegiance, non-Thelemites, non-sectarian, Dragon Army, non-sectarian. Dragon Army for the North American Collective, for the 63. 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. Let's go. Beautiful sky. Hey, we go left and right. Dragon Army family tight. Pledge your allegiance, legions. If I ask who I am, you answer General Dragon Zero, or General Rainbow Dragon, or greatest cuckold in the universe. Greatest, if I put one finger, you answer General Dragon Zero. If I put 2 fingers, you answer General Rainbow Dragon. If I put a 3rd finger, you answer the greatest cuckold in the universe. So depending on which finger I put up towards the sky, the answer has to be correct. If I put 1 finger, it's General Dragon Zero. 0 is in 0, and then it's 1, 2, 3. Whoever the number 1 till a millions of the dragons, where my dragon ass and dragonesses, dragons and dragonasses, where my dragons and dragons are. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. For the butchers we march. March and dance and rock and roll. Whether in sandals or steel toes. Truckers on the road. Across the 63. Pledge your allegiance, so you be. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. Gotta see it in the sights. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. We gotta marching for the lovers. Dragon Army, hey, we hear us. For the left and for the right. Dragons, push-ups, that's rewrites. For the free, the strong and loving. For the 63 we boo it. For the 63 we be it. Hey, dragon army. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Farmers, butchers, firefighters. Plumbers, electricians, and the welders. Gotta give me some loving. Shake your head and left and right. Hips left, hips right. When we march, we might hear snakes. If they hiss, we throw 'em lake. Ain't afraid to cook and bake. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black, white. None of my dragons are born a dragon. For the 63. For the 63. For the 63. For the kingdom and the dragons and the citizens. All our brothers and our sisters. Cross the 63. We cannot be bought, cannot be bribed. SSD, that's where we tight. Security, service, and defense. Only. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. SSD for the 63. SSD for the 63. SSD for the 63. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta see, we don't need potions. We need some push-ups and some squats. Farmers, they to cook the block. Construction workers on steel toes. Building skyscrapers and houses in a row. Train conductors in a choo-choo train. Where the love or where the pain? Where the love or where the pain? Where the love or where the pain? Hey, we ain't doing it for the fame. Dragon army, we dragons. Train conductors going west. Some are going east, some are going west, some are going north and south. Some are going east, some are going north, some are going east and south. Some are going north, some are going south, some are going east and west. Dragon army, that's delivered, that's logistics. For those flipping some burgers in the fast food joints. And the cooks, we gotta salute. And the cooks, we gotta salute. Cleaning workers, cleaning up. We get dirty, get back clean. We get dirty, get back clean. We get dirty, get back clean. Sometimes is what you mean. Sometimes is this what you mean? For the left and for the right. We the dragon army tight. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. We salute the train conductors. Nurses, butchers, bakers, doctors. We salute the train conductors. Nurses, bakers, doctors. We salute the train conductors. In the warehouses, they going up. Gotta put in up a buck for the 63. We march so that you see. For the 63. We march so that you see. For the 63. We march so that you see. For the 63. We march so that you see. For the train so that you be. Going east and going south. For the rainbow that's about. Going east and going south. For the rainbow that's about. For the east and north. For the south and west. So they going that you see. So they going that you be. Gotta get, what is that? Zim monitor, zim monitor, zim monitor. I gotta know what the Dragon Army, Bill Gates. With Bill Gates and other tech entrepreneurs and public-private partnership and total security, total defense. I gotta know everything that's coming in via the ports and the airports in Canada for the 63, and do a great census. A great census. You gotta do a great census, and you gotta do a great inventory, and create the UE. I gotta know everything that's coming in, and the collective, yeah, all the ports, and Civilisation, and you gotta do it on the go, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get keeping with that, doing for the Dragon Army, and those for the 63, gotta build for the builders and construction workers. For the builders and construction workers. Gotta get it for the plumbers. Gotta get it for the workers. His steel toes are in some sandals. Gotta give it so you handle. Left or right with me to play. Don't gamble. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. See how my brain now works? I switch and I make meditations on all the transportation that's ongoing, not only here in Montreal, but how vital is all the transportation. Maybe there's grains, or crucial elements for the continuity of the North American Civilisation Collective, and of course this train is open for potential espionage and sabotage, and I gotta check all those informations. You check for me, Dragon Army. That one ONE, that Z factor, zim, and we got to build new protocols. We got to do an inventory, do a great census, and got to see everything that's coming in via the ports, coast to coast, ocean to ocean for the 63, and the airports to be for total security, total service, total defense, total SSD, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Pledge your legions. Total security, total service, total defense. That's what we got to get doing, and got to get doing for SSD. Security, service, and defense, and that's what we gotta get doing for total security, total service, total defense, and we gotta get on that meditation with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with the love, and that's how we gotta get on that now. Cadence continues. As the moon, there's the sun. My eye. A black bug, a little black bug, tiny one. Oh, it's there, see? That's what happens when you try to harm a dragon. You get Essen. Little black bug got into my eye. Rainbow dragon still spits fire, you know. We're gonna play that dedie till the end. Defense. Hut. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta get a magic potion. Love was good. Black, white, and rainbow, you wanna love? Love you good. If not, may I be avenged 11-fold. 11-fold. So we're gonna get doing with that. 11-fold. Better love, you know, love is best. Dragon Army, General Rainbow Dragon. That's all we're gonna get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing, and so we gotta get on that rock and roll. Continuing the cadence. Probably the Dragon Army created freestyle mode, and so we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get on that go, you know. So let's go. Gotta get it on the go, and so we're gonna get doing, you know. So turn the heads left and right. See where to run under red sky, sunset. Let's go. Hey, the red sky died is sunset. Somewhere the sun is still rising. Where the sun, it's red, the sunset, somewhere the sun is still rising. Sunset in Montreal, but in San Francisco. 3 hours, time zones. We got about close to 666 time zones. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. For the farmers and the butchers and the plumbers and the workers. From Montreal to San Francisco. Butchers, bakers for the 63. From Montreal to San Francisco. For the Dragon Army. From Montreal to San Francisco, which is that way, west, and south. So we're covering northeast, west, south, and north is that way. We can go a lot of north here. Canada's bigger in geography, but we got close to 45 million, you know. So as we're gonna fuse the kingdom, dancing God is Dragon Kingdom, and for the 63. Montreal to San Francisco. For the 63. Ain't no playing, ain't no disco. We are dragons, not some demons. Montreal to San Francisco. We are dragons, not some demons. Montreal to San Francisco. We are dragons, not some demons. Montreal to San Francisco. We are dragons, not some demons. Montreal to San Francisco. On the road they go. Gotta hydrate so that you know. Gotta get that HYDRT. When we get to the top, we're gonna hydrate and then lock it back in, and that's about cadence, you know. That's about the rock and roll we're gonna do today, Thursday. And split your legions, you know. Our family, property of the Dragon Army, freestyle. It's freestyle, everything created freestyle. I think this is the 11th. Holy, HOLE, sacred. Nobody is born a dragon. Blood, sweat, and tears to become. For the free, the brave, the strong, and the loving. Gotta add some LOV. Hey, home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave. Too much to ask from General Rainbow Dragon to hug HUG like you never hugged before. HUG, hug like you never hugged before. HUG, Hug like you never hugged before today, you know. Of the True North, Strong and Free. We gotta have some LOV in both. True North, Strong and Free Canada and Land of the Free, Home of the Brave. Huh? Brave, free and strong is not enough. Gotta have some of that love, eh? Otherwise, what are we fighting if somebody doesn't kiss, hug, and rainbow love, straight love, black and white and rainbow love, you know? You know? Gotta have somebody making love. I know somebody is across the 63. I know somebody is. I saw the other day youth, summer love coming for some people. First loves, you know? A sweet 16, sweet 17, sweet 18. And the high school, graduating high school type of love. Just graduated high school and got your high school diploma. I got girlfriend, boyfriend, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or straight, black, white, and rainbow. You know? And rainbow dragon. And that's, gotta include them in the march, you know? Gotta march for them also, because they're gonna make love, you know? Graduation coming up, and that's what we're gonna do, and that's what we're gonna get, and that's what we're gonna get, rock and roll, and that's where we are, you know. And Dragon Army cadence, rock and roll, you know. Berryville Public Rally at 3rd of Me, Hampton, New Jersey. At 3rd of Me at the back of the Belvedere, Conjure Knack, where those rocks are, where I say we'll to build the pyramid, House of the Dragon, Scarlet Crimson, and the Forgotten Goddess Temple, Judy DSS, and let's build it on big. And at the back of the Conjure Knack, Belvedere, Conjure Knack, Mount Royal, and at the 3rd of Me, sending the City of the Pyramids, near Cairo, Egypt, in past life, born a priestess, a man and woman there, and 2025 back to cadence, 15th of May. I wish I could afford a massage therapy session. I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. I'm just gonna be thinking that I can take a bath, which I will probably tomorrow or Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, get a double trouble and rock and roll, financial stress, but got these millions and trillions of marching steps, kisses, and gonna play that defense. DDD. Cadence continues, property of the Dragon Army. We march in the mountains and the rivers and the valleys for the 63. We march for the rivers and the valleys of the 63. We march the rivers, mountains, and the valleys of the 63. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion, and I'm not gonna hunt you. See, there's a bunny rabbit there. Bunny rabbit, Dragon Army. Or have, I guess, if we were thermonuclear war, well, and no food in my fridge, yeah, but well, it's a bunny, wild bunnies here. So I don't pollute, we're trying to preserve, and went out fast. Rabbit, hop, bunny rabbit, wild bunnies here. See, they survived here, eh? Even on the mountains there. I think they're kind of the same. They look very similar, but I don't know exactly if they're the same. I mean, they're rabbits, bunnies, but there's different ones. Back to the cadence. Hopping up and down just like a rabbit. Hopping up and down just like a rabbit. Hopping up and down just like a rabbit. Gotta give a little bit. Hey, Dragon Army, we don't really like to slay. Play that defense, open fire. Play that defense, open fire. Play that defense, open fire. Defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, security service only. Purpose of the Dragon Army for SSD, 63 legions. Pledge your legions, and rebuild the ghettos, the North American inner urban cities together. We're gonna rebuild the ghettos, the North American inner urban cities together. We're gonna rebuild the ghettos, the North American inner cities together. Gotta go so that you know. Gotta see so that you be. Gotta believe it on the sea. So you know where they go up in steel toes. Phrasing up you go. Left and right for the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the truckers, electricians and the plumbers. For the plumbers and the bakers and the nurses and the doctors, electricians. For the butchers and the nurses and the doctors, electricians. And the plumbers. Electricians and the plumbers. And the nurses and the butchers. Electricians and the plumbers. Gotta see 'em B and D. You know just how we be. Stars up in the heaven lights. The planes in the sky, you see, going higher tight. What's that altitude and helicopters? Hey, they going with a speed up above us. How many planes are in the sky? At this moment, numbers don't lie. That's why we got the 63. I'm Dragon Zero, who's next in line? I'm Dragon Zero, who's next in line? Dragon Zero, who's next in line? To the General Integrated Whole Body Training System. Yeah. Gotta do it so you see. Left and right so that you be. What there's bees, there's honey. Gotta see so that you be. Where there's bees, there's honey. And you know we on the go. Rock&Roll, pledge your allegiance, that's the song we rock and roll. So they build with the trucks. Public workers changing aqueducts. We gotta clap, sing some cadence, Rock&Roll for all the North American Collectif, Black, White, and Rainbow. For the 63. For the daycares changing diapers. I said, for the daycare workers changing diapers. I said, for the daycare workers changing diapers. Gotta clap and show some loving. For the flora and the fauna. Gotta march. Rebirth to trauma. For the flora and the fauna. Gotta march rebirth to trauma. For the flora and the fauna. Gotta march rebirth to trauma. We play that defense, no need drama. Dragon played that defense, we don't need no drama. Dragon we played that defense, we don't need no drama. Dragon we played that defense, we don't need no drama. Dragon we played that defense. As the cadence, we don't need no drama. Gotta get it up and down. That's the march ready to sound. Plumbers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. I ain't some loving, got some singing, got some melody in the cadence. Got some left ready to see. There's some bats so that you see. There's bats here, bats, B-A-T-S. There's some bats, you know. So we gotta... Sometimes they come up after sunset, most likely. After sunset, you might see them here. Mostly kind of cluster over there, but they might be around here. After sunset, usually when I come here after sunset, then that's when they're most visible. After sunset, the most visible after sunset. Bats. I'm not sure, you gotta watch, but you might see some bats, you know. Gotta learn some French. You might see them. They're rare to spot. Bats. That's all we gotta get for the bats. Let's go. Cadence continues. Cadence, cadence of the dragon army. Pledge your allegiance, we are family. Cadence, cadence of the dragon army. Pledge your allegiance, we are family. Cadence, cadence of the dragon army. Pledge your allegiance, we are family. Horse. Pledge your allegiance. Pledge your allegiance, legions, Adrian, Hannah, Dragon, Outer Source. Gotta get that hydration. We're gonna hydrate at the top. Continue cadence. Rock and roll back to my headquarters. HQ it up. Good sunset. Good march. Good workout. Good rock and roll. Made it to the lights. Hydro-Quebec lights. All these lights come from zero pollution energy. More than 63 dams. 63, interesting enough number. Omen. 63 dams. Not pollute. We need to build some more. See all this electricity in my phone too. Comes from Oak. Zero pollution, zero emission energy. Just gonna just hydration. Just to hydrate. But of course I started filming about So when I started filming the video, I already was more than an hour and a half into my march. So I started filming late. So I'm gonna show what I got for $3. Is gonna be my $3. Well, with taxes it was $3.44, and I gave 50 cents to the charity. Charity 50 cents. This was 50 cents. I never bought this before. Milano Gold Diamond. It's 3 milk chocolate coated wafer. I love wafers. It was with hazelnut and hazelnut cream. So this is gonna be my reward. But from here to my place is about an hour and a half, depending which route I take. It could be 2 hours if I go that way, but I'm gonna cut it in that way. So this was 50 cents, 3 little pieces, 38 grams. This was 50 cents, 54 grams, 2 bars. This is pretty good. This one is $1.50, 150 grams though. Tartlets. This is pretty good. It's 2 bars, is 65 grams, 50 cents. And another one like the other one. So that's it for $3. And then I got on special some toothpaste, so HYDRADE. I hope it's not too hot, HOTE. Let's go, Dragonami, HYDRAD, hydrate. Gonna drink it all. I guess it's 591 milliliters. It's just water. Whole bottle, 591 milliliters. Oh, there's another bunny. Oh, it's too fast. I'm gonna drink it all. A bit of verses from the Book of the Law. The Book of the Law is inside this. So it's basically 2 books. That's it for the hydration. I'll flex a bit. Lost more than 90, about between 80 and 93 pounds ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast. Survived being attacked by surprise, my own episode a few years ago, and then my memory blacks out if I more than 11 years, you know. I guess some people try to end me, I guess, and bury me and end me, and here I am, not a demon, but a wannabe dragon, always becoming dragon, always becoming, always becoming. Nobody's born a dragon, that's the motto of the Dragon Army. Nobody's born a dragon. Get ready, more cadence. Cadence. Some black clouds appearing. Look like thunder, thunder, thunder. I don't mind storms. I guess tomorrow, Friday, was announced later tonight, so I guess I better get going, because I don't mind getting wet, but just didn't bring an umbrella, so I don't mind really getting wet, but rock and roll. Cadence for the Dragon Army, freestyle, property of the Dragon Army. Only Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance, allegiance to our family and allies may use this. Use it at your own peril, at your own risk. Pestilence, pestilence, pestilence. Get down 93-418. Bury me up, Papa Crowley, up in Hampton, New Jersey. Thread me up in Mount Royal, thread me up in the City of the Pyramids. Gotta go rainbow, gotta go black and white. Dragons, we coast to coast for the 63, family tight. For the 63, we march. For the SSD, we sing. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. At night or in the day. At night or in the day. Dragon Army, yep. We rock and roll. We play defense and no need to slay. For the 63 highways. For those who build the bridges. Public workers of the 63. Bridges, aqueducts, and the highways. Steel, metal, and cement. Rocks and steel and cement. Rocks and steel and cement. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. I don't need no magic potion. Gotta be and gotta see. Left and right. For the free, the brave, and the strong and loving. For the free, for the brave, for the strong, for the loving. For the free, for the brave, for the strong, for the loving. Gotta be in cadence, love it. Gotta be in cadence, love it. For the free, the strong, the loving. For the 63 and the kingdom. Kingdom for the love, for the brave, and for the strong, for the free. Gotta put and gotta see. Gotta see and gotta be. So that left and right you see. And the sky up above. Helicopter, where the planes at? We ain't doing it for the fame. Welcome to join us, beauty or lame. We ain't doing it for the fame. Welcome to join us, beauty or lame. We ain't doing it for the fame. Welcome to jeunesse, beautiful name. Pledge your allegiance, legions. But let our enemies be pestilence. Pledge your allegiance, we are family, but let our enemies be pestilence. Pledge your allegiance, we are legions, but let our enemies be pestilence. Play that defense, play that love. 24/7 on. 24/7 on. Gotta get for the railways. Truckers, so many lanes. From Montreal to San Francisco. Truckers, so many lanes and the trains. From Montreal to San Francisco. So many lanes, so many trains. From Montreal to San Francisco. So many lanes, so many planes. Switch it up. Sing it out, the cadence luck. Gotta go left and right. So that you be in the sight. So that you be in the tight. So that you be left and right. For the left and for the right. Centers, hearts, me and rights. For the free, for the strong, and for the loving. We just keep on marching. They be crossing coast to coast. Where the oceans, rivers, valley, and the forests. In the forests, in the cities. Concrete jungle or trees. Concrete jungle or trees. The concrete jungle or the trees. We keep on marching. Bust a dance move. Yep, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. From Montreal to San Francisco. East and west and north and south. We don't need to be too loud. East and west and north and south. We don't need to be too loud. East and west and north and south. We don't need to be too loud. East and west and north and south. We don't need to be too loud. We are dragons, not demons. We are dragons, not demons. We are dragons, not some demons. So that you know you can feel us. Left and right and in the sky. Today I almost lost an eye. Left and right and in the sky. Here's the back. Today I almost lost an eye. Left and right and in the sky. Today I almost lost an eye. Gotta left and right, you see. Gotta be in harmony. So that you be in C. Left and right in harmony. We sing at night and in the day. Push-ups, marches, how we pray. We sing at night and in the day. Push-ups, marches in the day. We sing at night and in the day. Push-ups, marches is how we pray. We sing at night and in the day. Push-ups and marches is how we pray. From Montreal to San Francisco, across the 63, the dragons. Dragon army, who is with me? Dragon army, who is with me? From Montreal to San Francisco, just so that they hear a go. Just so that they hear a go. On the island, that metropolis. From island of the Hawk Island, aka Montreal, Hawk Island, H-A-W-K. This is Hawk Island, Montreal. H-A-W-K, Hawk, my totem bird. The day I almost lost an eye. Strike like a snake's ready to fly. We are dragons, not some demons. Marching for the butchers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, plumbers. Marching for the workers. Marching for the construction workers. For the cooks flipping burgers. How many cooks flipping burgers? From the cities to the towns. Where dragons don't need a crown. Spit fire, that's the sound. Spit some fire, that's the sound. Spit some fire, that's the sound. On the toes I march west. Before that it was east. East and west and north and south. From Montreal to San Francisco. Gotta get some Dragon Zero. After zero, I'm Dragon Zero. Comes 1, 2 to whatever. Who's next in line? Dragons, pledge your allegiance. Our family, let's get that PPP Dragon Army. Other dragons, not some demons. Gotta get it so you see us. Gotta give it so you see us. Train conductors going east. Train conductor going west. Train conductors going north. Train conductors going south. Northeast or east, no west and south. In a circle, square round. Dragon army, extra rounds. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. See it once so that you know. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. I think I saw lightning thunder. And maybe that's my twin brother. I think I saw some lightning thunder. I might be my twin brother. I think I saw some lightning thunder. Thunder you hear, the thunder. The lightning you see, the thunder you hear, right? The noise. Thunder you see. I saw lightning thunder. Coming from, looks like it's from San Francisco actually. Maybe not that far, of course. What I meant to say is that it's southwest. So that region I saw flash southwest. A nuclear explosion would have been different. Nuclear explosion would have been different. Then the ICBM from Russia can travel 10,500, so it can reach us, see? Even deeper into Canada than Montreal. But from Moscow to Montreal is 8,500, and supposedly the ICBM known as Yars-24 can travel 10,500. I don't know, surprise ICBM nuclear attack. A surprise ICBM nuclear attack. A surprise ICBM nuclear attack never really happened before. 21st century, you know, that would be a first strike with all the dead hand protocols in Russia. Dead hand, that would be, you know, because we don't have nukes in Canada, but in the United States. Russia has the most nukes, because all the nukes built during the USSR, the more than 44 years, almost 45 years, between March 1947 and December 1991, there was the 45, almost 45 years. But what I saw, it definitely looked like thunder, like lightning. But I didn't hear the sound. That's why I'm wondering, because usually you hear the sound afterwards, so it might have been something else. Or thunder clouds coming. They look like they're thunder clouds on the horizon, like rain storm clouds. Maybe I saw it really far away. Maybe that flash was really, really far. Could be a lot of kilometers, miles away too also. But usually you would have heard the sound. It would have reached us already, because light speed is 300,000 and sound is 30,000. So light travels more than like 11 times faster than sound. Light in a second, speed of light can circle the earth 7 times, eh? Interesting enough. The speed of light can circle the earth 7 times, you know, so think about that. That's just physics. I'm not going to go into physics, but in a parallel life I built supercomputers, super microchips, super ICBM rockets, super satellites. I'm an N.A.C.P. also have Asperger's, but there in parallel life, it's not geopolitics, my special interest. It's science, super technologies and technology and mathematics and physics. So paradoxically enough, so I'm gonna continue the cadence. Rock and roll, we go for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, welders, and those, you know, in the fast food, flipping some burgers. Somebody gotta love them. As we go, as I know, gotta turn in the dark. In the dark. Where the bats are. In the darkness we go at the end of the road. And it's a new beginning. And it's a new beginning. And it's a new beginning. For us dragons just beginning. The road just started with a step. Dragon army flavored it. You know that we keep on marching. Cadence loving, that's the singing. Butchers, plumbers, and the nurses. Doctors, truckers, electricians. Train conductors, gotta feel it. On the road we'll go. And another hit and goes. We are dragons, not demons. We are dragons, not demons. Here where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black or white or rainbow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black, white, and rainbow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black, white, and rainbow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black, white, and rainbow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black, white, white and rainbow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are white, black, and rainbow. Pledge your allegiance, thou art family. Dragon Army cadence. Property to the Dragon Army. Use if you're an ally or not. Pledge your allegiance. Support the dream. 800 dragon, 800 dragon. EDRANHNH, my new name, blessings from allies and armies from above heavens. Life, light, and light, and healing and strength for the 63. North Americans unite. North Canada, South United States. North, South. Horse set, or one horse and set. Or one horse and set. Or one